Oh, well. At least we did it before the review started. Oh. I think we're gonna start with Keki's review because I gave a review before. How do I find? Can you do like /user? Oh, you can. This work? Alright, because they had their code, so I just had to look at their message history so I can find that code again. Alright, we're chilling. Keep up the good work, aye. Aye, Captain. Alright, well, I'd like to push zones to like 27 again. I did that on NA, like in the first season, but it'd be nice to push it in this region. Or at least get so they on like top 2000 or whatever it is, so you start seeing the ranks. Make it a little bit more exciting. Anyways, oh yeah, I gotta go over here to submit codes. Oh, yo, Nezzy. Hello. GG's. Sorry for feeding, on your team. And you're welcome for me feeding when we were playing against each other. But how was the mini? Hopefully you were enjoying yourself. Let's just say I was struggling a little bit. Oh, speaking of Tri-Slosher, I feel like I've played with you or against you at some point, Keki, if I'm pronouncing that properly. But how's the stream? How'd the... Well, I know we were in a lot of games together, so I kind of know how the games went, but hopefully stream went well. Jeej. Yeah, no, let's just say it was a little tough on my end, but I just wanted to get through the zones rotation. I think maybe we went plus, like, we either went up or down like 0.1 points, but basically where we started is where we ended. But thank you so much for the raid, and we'll give you a shout out. I'm sure most all people know who Nezzy is, but another competitive streamer. I was wondering, because I think I saw you on a 3-0 and only 10 RIP. Do you play like competitive, or do you have past competitive experience? I think I saw you on a pickup at some point in one of the tournaments I played in like a couple weeks ago. I feel like I don't see you play competitive too much, but I don't know people's backstories. I'm still kind of new to the community. But as we wait for that, I'm gonna use the restroom real quick, and then let me get my screen ready, let me get the pin going, and then we can start looking at some replay stuff. I'm excited to look at Tri-Stringer, unironically. 1 second. Used to be a top player back in Splat 2, stop when COVID hit. Oh, I see. Okay. I came into the game after COVID, so that's kind of sick. Getting back into it, I see. I think y'all placed really well in the tournament, so. I always assumed you were a good player in solo queue, but I know there's a lot of people that like just play solo queue and don't play competitive, so. Interesting. Appreciate the explanation. Anyways, 1 second. Yeah, definitely go enjoy yourself. Appreciate the games and Splat zones, and I appreciate the raid 100%. Thank you so much. Definitely give Nazi a follow if you don't already do so. So how are y'all doing? Oh yeah. I think Trial was talking about how their Switch was like dying at 50%. I feel like a lot of people's Switches are kind of struggling right now. I can't drink water properly. All right. So just to give us a little bit of a backstory, Keki, is this solo queue, scrim, private battle? What's the context of this? What rank are you at now? Can I drop a code? Eventually. Also, welcome in, Sully. If Tra is still here after this review, they take precedence, but there's probably a backlog of maybe like 2 or 3 codes. But you're certainly welcome to drop the code. We'll definitely get around to it. I'm not sure how fast we'll get around to everything now. S+2? Okay, okay. You don't expect priority? Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. I talk a lot, so I can be a little bit slow. Okay, but yeah, Tri-Stringer I'm not super familiar with. I am a little bit, but I'm definitely familiar with Hagglefish Zones. Also, thank you, Protato, for the code, or just code, the follow, and thank you, Sully, for the code. So yeah, S+2 series. So do you have like X rank unlocked? Like, are you, I guess I'm trying to figure, yo, Ferrari Kid, hello, hello. So if this is competitive Ferrari Kid, good luck on the FA search. You're goated. Oh, gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. Welcome. Welcome. So yeah. But yeah, if you're like a X rank gamer, or if you're like pushing for X rank now, I guess we'll probably be able to see it. But some of these names kind of seem familiar though. I feel like I've definitely seen you in Anarchy before. Should have followed it. No, you're good. You're chilling. Any support is always welcome, but we're good. Oh, you're on a project? Knock that round 1. It's tough. Single elimination is always tough. And if you're like just playing with people, like it takes a while to develop the synergy. So you're a very talented player. So just, give us some time. Hopefully that's the right match. The right match for you. So anyways, looking at comps, we got ourselves, we're playing with a kind of, this is interesting. So we're playing like basically triple backline, but Ballpoint can paint a lot. It's like you have double painters, which is really good. But you have a lot of backline, which in terms of when to reposition or use sub, yeah, that was actually the first thing I was going to bring up, is because we have 3 backline, your positioning is going to be, you're probably going to have to be a little bit more flexible, because your weapon has a lot of flexibility with being able to arc over certain areas. But I would imagine in a lot of cases, like your charger is generally going to want to sit here, like charger's gonna, I don't know how to do it. Just do 1, 2, 3, 4. That always makes my life easier. The charger's probably going to want to be on 10 for most of the game, and then, maybe push into mid once you have control. But just as like your default position, like your opening position, like Splatling probably going to sit over here. Splash, they may, a lot of times Splash will want to go for like this early crab on 10, but they'll be hovering around the zone as well. So, I know on this map, just kind of as a default, as Tri-Stringer, I like main shots hitting over these, because like a lot of times people sit in these little boxes. Like in general, there's going to be people there all the time. So if you're constantly zoning people out from that spot and dislodging them, you can actually work pretty well with your Ballpoint, and especially with the crab from your splash. So you definitely have to play it a little bit slow, but you do have the resources to kind of compete. And when we're looking at the enemy team, I don't know, Ballpoint's also very scary, especially on this map. Ballpoint and Inkjet love to use these pillars because they give you extra height and they're very easy to access. Top of high ground the entire game. I think it's like as long as you find value, because part of it's like being adaptable and being able to flex. And people don't always take the spots that you expect. You know. But like going into it, you have a plan, and then you can always deviate from the plan, like as you plan. Also, I just realized that I don't have my the light on. Yeah, but so oh, the marker's not showing. Oh, thank you. I forget every single time that I open this up. I don't know why. I think I need to refix this, but I have to like click on it again. Thank you. Huh? Gotcha. Yeah, thank you for that. But sorry. So yeah, in terms of positioning, you know, charger on tent. You know, Splatling sitting here. You know, Splash will be hovering around mid as well. And I would probably imagine you're probably going to be like you three are kind of going to be stacked over here, and kind of like Potatoes mentioning it. I think you can get a lot of value out of just constantly shooting shots in these areas. Just dislodge them as best you can. Other common areas that you can hit where people will shark, like these are the #1 spots where people are going to be hiding. They always sit here because like it's good and there's very few options for you to be in those positions. But when you're like poking around and stuff and you're having control, like people like to shark, you know, along this ledge. People like to sit behind here, and especially once you start retaking, you'll want to hit people around this like tent area. I guess just this whole tent area. So understanding like what shots, you know, you can get value even if you don't directly hit them, and knowing where you can actually you know, kind of make people uncomfortable, make the enemy team uncomfortable. You do have to be careful about the ballpoint, but everyone else on their team is not as much. You know, they're gonna probably be sitting and sharking in a lot of these common spots that I've kind of pointed out in these areas. So if you don't know where to shoot, like if you're not aiming at someone directly, those are probably pretty good. The other thing I would say is because their team has a lot more aggression than you all, your whale can get a lot of value. You just want to make sure that you're able to get value. So I would look to try to pair it with either your Inkjet or your crab. But, you know, we'll see how it plays out. We'll start getting into it. Oh, also what build? Okay, you're running a lot of tenacity, or you're running tenacity and a lot of special charge. If you're gonna run that much special charge, I'm curious why you're not trying to go for the early specials. Because it might not be bad for you to actually like stall. Because their team's gonna be more aggressive and they're gonna be pushing you faster. So if you can get an early whale and either pair it with your crab, depending on how fast the splash is, or, you know, stall them long enough so you can get a crab out, that's not a bad idea. But we'll get into it. How to play into what comes. You never change your play style. Yeah, that definitely comes with time. I think at the spot that you're at now, you're probably going to want to start. You're probably going to start thinking about those things. But truthfully, a lot of your teammates and a lot of the people in your games aren't going to be thinking about this. So, you know, you can definitely get an advantage over certain opponents by being able to be more adaptable. But I think in general, especially with triple backline in this game, if you can't, as long as you don't bunch up and give them a ton of value with their specials, you know, like you're okay. And Inkjet's going to be a little bit scary about that. You know, Zuka has big play potential against your comp. Potentially, it's still lottery, but it's a little bit scary. What does Neo Sploosh have? That's like a, isn't it Beacon and Whale or something? Like these specials aren't as scary. They'll definitely displace you, but mainly it's just not getting caught off guard for these. And that's part of, you can prevent the big play potential by just making sure that you're spacing yourself away from the rest of your team. So Beacon Whale, thank you. Yeah, because I think if you focused on paint instead of taking the rail and getting to tent immediately, like you're still going to get special fast, but you probably can have it ready in like a second or two versus only being halfway here. So this is just a little bit of, you know, a little bit of optimization, but getting early specials is actually really good. Yo, welcome in, Ducko. Browsing Twitch, want to stop by for comfy vibes? Well, welcome, welcome. Hopefully I can provide some comfy vibe from free coaching. Hey, we're here. If you have codes, I'm happy to help. Yeah, because you're still, this is part of the problem. Oh no, what's up, son? Man, solo queue was tough. I got carried by my teammates in the second half, so we stayed where we started. I know you've been pushing solo lately. But yeah, because like in this spot, you've like noticed that you still don't have special, and you're wasting time getting paint down. Because like this paint that you're getting over here is what you should have been doing before everyone's set up, basically. These shots are fine, but like you should have already had special by now. You can definitely have it, especially if you're running double pushing downwards. Oh no. Well, hopefully things turn around for you. We'll do a couple of reviews in a row. There's a little bit of a queue, but I got you, son. Don't worry. Because like all of this, your teammates are taking fights, and this is why getting those early specials is really important, so that there's not this desync of, oh, they don't know that you're trying to paint while, you know, they're trying to push forward or like look for plays, and you're still getting your specials up. Their team's getting through right now, so yeah. Whew. All right, we'll let this play out. Feather Inkjet probably can do a little bit more damage here, but one thing I do want to note, it's not that you necessarily played it bad, but after your teammate goes down, you can see the enemy team trying to push through, and when we go back through the initial like comps and everything, like their team is a lot faster, plus they have like a sploosh. So as you're using Whale and stuff, like they're starting to get through now. So I would be a little bit more careful about that. Like you end up tracking this person and get a really nice shot, so that was good. But I don't know. In terms of like your overall awareness, I think there was a lot happening underneath you that was kind of scary, but I guess with their comp, they don't really have like a lot of bombs and specials to really punish you outside of the Inkjet, but if you are gonna position up top, oh Ducko, thank you for the follow. If you are gonna position on top of this tent, and this is something that I think in general is usually a pretty good rule of thumb if you need to be more mobile. This is outside, like this is like a lot of different weapons. I do this a lot as Splash, but I would try to lean your positioning close to a ledge. So either sit over, like position yourself toward this ledge so that you have the ability to drop off, or sit toward the back, you know, like sit back here so that there's a potential of you being able to drop off. But really being able to position yourself around ledges so that, especially against an Inkjet, sitting on the very middle and positioning on the middle of the surface is gonna, there's a better chance of you potentially getting splatted. And you know, the terrain on the tent is a little bit awkward, but I do think as you play against better Splash or Inkjets, they might actually hit you more with chip. And you always want to have like an escape route. So, you know, when you're holding certain ledges, if you feel like you're going to get pushed potentially, and this goes like for like the entire map. So, you know, like if you're going to get pushed from mid, if you're sitting where this person is, you know, like play around this ledge, or if you're playing all the way up here, like position yourself so that you can very quickly drop off if you need to. On this map especially. Handheld awareness. Nah, you're good. You're good. Like you ended up playing it fine. Like you visually saw the person end up crossing and you got the pick. So I think you played it fine. But again, against like stronger teams, they might push you a little bit faster, and you just have to make sure you're positioning yourself and being aware for it. Sit on the very middle back, because bombs will roll off and slashers can't consistently hit you. Gotcha. Yeah, middle back is a good place to be. But against Inkjet specifically, I'd probably be a little bit more, a little bit careful. But yeah, definitely when you don't have to worry about Inkjet or ballpoint, you know, Slosher is gonna have a harder time like pushing you. But right now, y'all are in a little bit more control. Your ballpoint went down, but one of the problems that I'm seeing with you positioning here is that you're not able to give your team a lot of pressure. You're missing out on a lot of pressure, which this goes back. I don't know the exact range of Tri-Stringer. If you sit here, so if you're sitting where Keki's sitting right here, I don't think it has that range, does it? Where you can actually hit like this back area. Because this is the one problem that I see with you being back here. If your team's getting pushed back, like when they got the initial picks and everything, like being up here is fine. But once y'all start getting a little bit of momentum, I want you to have more of a presence in mid so you can actually pressure out these areas that we were talking about. Because your Splatling and your Charger really want those people to be dislodged. And like your Splash should be able to throw burst bombs and kind of assist with that. Ballpoint can do a little bit of a good job with like, you know, if they're practiced, they can shoot over walls pretty well. But your area of control is a little, it's very limited. And once your team's ready to push, you don't have the most aggressive team. So like a whale in a lot of cases is not going to be enough. You want to be able to actually have more of a presence and start hitting, you know, very specifically these spots and pressure them out. Because we'll get back to it, but let's look from an overhead view and just see if my theory kind of rings true, because I wasn't like fully paying attention. Because like right now your team's getting pushed back, so you don't want to be dropping in this kind of area when your team's about to get pushed. So like staying up on 10 is good, and using the whale to suppress them is good, and then this shot here on the shot is good. But once you start getting like picks and everything, like at this point, I would probably start dropping down. But let's see like how the enemy positions in these types of spots. They're getting ballpoint now, so it's kind of hard to tell. I guess we haven't hit stasis yet, so we can't exactly see. But yeah, definitely in this spot, because like where this T-Tech is, they're probably going to get back into the spot. We'll go back to your perspective in a second, but you can kind of see when these stalemates happen, people like, you know, generally sit in those areas. So if you're able to get pressure in those spots, it helps a ton. But, you know, at least with you, at least from the way it looks, we'll jump back to your perspective and go back a few seconds just so we can keep watching from your perspective. But yeah, thank you for the kind words, Ducko. Thank you. But at least you're focusing your pressure over here on the right side, which is, you know, like if you're gonna set 10, at least keep this under control, which is good. But at a certain point, I would look to try to be a little bit more provide a little bit more presence for your team. I guess we can see what that last shot. Let's see where that last shot went, because maybe we can answer the question of how far that thing goes. I think it's the shot after. Yeah, you're not hitting back here. So yeah, there's a lot of missed opportunity potentially, but I think there's a time and place where this is very strong, but you know, like it also is somewhat anti-synergistic because if you're kind of like holding this area the whole time, your charger has to reposition and can't potentially set in these spots because like charger could potentially be doing the same role that you are. So yeah, and then you could have more of a presence hitting over these areas, and even just like I mean just getting your shots charged up and having them explode anywhere where the enemy's trying to position. Like middle gets a little bit clogged up for both teams on this map, so any sort of chip that you can provide is gonna help out a lot. And yeah, same thing here. Ballpoint's not really looking at you with the inkjet, but still a little bit scary. Yeah, Sploosh ended up getting through, and because you're sitting on top of the 10, it's hard for you to get a good angle on it, but it happens. But yeah, now you're both taking in the same role. And yeah, like you were mentioning, I think definitely being able to understand when you need to adapt your position is definitely beneficial. Oof, that's tough. Yeah, I feel like you're a little bit too comfortable on top of the tent, and I think it's a detriment for the rest of your team because you're not able to get the pushes that you should be. The thing to keep an eye on as a backliner is beacons. You should occasionally check the map for beacons. That's true. You know, if you know which the Neo Sploosh has beacons, if you know that there are beacons on the map, then you're able to attack them. But with the way that that we're positioning here, we're probably not going to be able to influence beacons. But if you're closer to mid, if they have beacons like positioned in these types of corners, which isn't like it's pretty realistic that may happen, you have the ability to shred them that you can't do here, and that your charger can't do, and your ballpoint has a hard time doing. So again, another reason why potentially moving more forward is good. If you want to play on team, you need to manage your ink tank effectively. Usually if I run that, as long as I'll just drop as long as I'm not about to instantly die. True. Yeah, that's the other thing. Outside of just your shots, Toxic Mist can help as well. And like timing your Toxic Mist because again, as we kind of established, inkjets are going to want to go over top here and like look down from these types of areas. And if you know, like if you see your inkjet, like if you see that their inkjet is available, then yeah, you can look to potentially throw good Toxic Mist as well. Because that's another thing about playing in this position is that you're not getting value out of potential Toxic Mist. And with your comp, like with Crab with inkjet, you actually can get some good value out of it. And again, as we identified, there's very common spots, and this is true on a lot of maps. Like there's very common spots that people are going to want to sit, and I think you actually do a really good job of being able to like spot them out and get them to move. The pillars. So the pillars are these two things here. There might be a different name for them, but we just call these like left and right pillar, at least for our team. So yeah, I think when Sun's saying clear the pillars, it's going back to what I'm saying, where get either a mist or your normal shots, your charge shots, get them in these areas, which requires you to move off of the tent. Yeah, and you can see the enemy team is like playing around left more. This also goes back to the adaptation, because like early on in the game, you did a good job of like deterring them from wanting to use this right side, which is good. Like because that's a scary flank. But you can see the enemy team's kind of adapting, and they're like after the first minute, they've been targeting this left side a little bit more because they're, not wanting to have to deal with the pressure you're putting. So now your value on here gets less and less. Someone who mains the core of Machine Stamper Stringer on this map mode combo. If I was playing Stringer, I definitely wouldn't play on just Canopy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely like the major issue, which again, you were pointing out that you were having issues kind of figuring that out. So when we get later on, I got you. I like that you're off the Canopy now, so let's see if you can. Yeah, it feels like you're just playing a little bit too scared. Like the pressure of that inkjet over top, the enemy team is not looking for a shot on you. They're trying to stay alive, and they're like swimming around, and they're very nervous because this inkjet is like over top these pillars are very, very strong. So when you notice that your teammates are doing that, you should be a little bit more comfortable pushing closer to the closer to the zone and being able to support it, because they take up a lot of space in those types of scenarios. Going into this, my entire mindset was guarding flanks. Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's that's too one-dimensional for you to be able to like successfully do. Like that is part of the picture, but I don't think you can go into it and say this is my one objective and this is my one role, because I don't think it's enough on average, depending on your team comps. But it's definitely something you want to keep in mind. But you can also guard those flanks by constantly hitting, these behind these pillars, because if they end up dropping, you'll see that kind of thing. I think you can play a little bit more aggressive and still accomplish that same role. Because the reason why you have to worry about these flanks as much is because your team doesn't have as much of a presence. And so the enemy team can like take these sides like for free, basically. Obviously, they have to time it properly, because ballpoint is still scary to watch these and chargers are still scary to watch these, but they need a little bit more help. And this is part of the problem with the triple backline, is that the rest of your team's trying to play a little bit more aggressive and take slightly more aggressive positions with these backline weapons, because either they don't want to bunch up with you, or they understand that we need to be slightly more aggressive and slightly riskier. Otherwise, we'll kind of get ran over. But yeah, Treashinger can actually move forward. This comp, you should try to position similarly to the ballpoint. If they're jetting, you need to be in the front line. Yeah, 100%. Because your chip pairs really well with the rest of your team. That's one thing with this core, and even with the bomb that the V charger has, is that you actually have a ton of chip. Something I noticed when playing in Takaroko X battles, leaders and backliners are playing in that area before the leader zone. They're also playing behind a haggle pole. Yeah. So I play on the cubes, right? It's gonna depend, because like if your ballpoint is sitting like right here, you don't want to step on their toes. But, and this is a thing as you get better, is like you want to constantly be moving. You don't want to sit in the same position for too long, because you become predictable and the enemy team can like play around the way that you're playing. So you may move up. There may be opportunities for you to move up, and then, you can move up to these little areas and you can shoot over them. This positioning's fine, but there's going to be certain opportunities where you'll be able to be more aggressive and you can push even into the zone and potentially past it. And when your team is using your inkjet, and potentially when you're using your crab, or if you have a numbers advantage, that should kind of clue you in that you need to be a little like you're able to push more forward and still be comfortable. And I think you're super risk adverse and you can't necessarily allow that. So in terms of your overall positioning, if you were playing more aggressive, it's basically going to be this entire area, and you might be moving constantly. But I think specifically you're going to want to position yourself so that you can dislodge in this entire area. You want to make sure that you can position yourself to be able to hit these spots. So if you have to, I don't know exactly where you need to be, but if you have to be closer to these cube areas to be able to hit them, then do that when it's safe. You know, but you can probably play like, again, play closer to these ledges, and if you need to drop and reposition, you're able to do so. But you want to be somewhat unpredictable and somewhat flexible with your movement, because you don't want to sit in a spot for too long. Realistically, like only E-liter is able to do that because it has ridiculously long range. But you're almost like midline in a weird way. Where's the limit of how far I can push up? That is the fun of competitive. There's no, it's all time and place. It depends. But, you know, in certain spots, if your team has chip, like if your team is inkjetting over this pillar, you could throw like a toxic mist in this area, and maybe you can probably like sit on this pole, you know. Like if you go past the zone and you haven't cleared them out, obviously that's going to be very dangerous, but there's no hard fast rule. One thing I would say for you for your continual learning after this review is push that limit. That question, where's the limit, is how far you can go forward. That is like that is the question that you should be asking after this review. And the way that you test that is by pushing that limit. You want to, what I consider like limit test, and just kind of push what that is. Maybe you know, be a little bit more aggressive. Try to time it when it makes sense. So like time it when your team either has numbers or when you have, you know, a special out that is pressuring the enemy team. You know, try to put some logic as to when it would make sense to be forward and when it would make sense to be a little bit more back. But when you see your team with a clear advantage and y'all have the ability to have some momentum forward, you know, like when y'all have a pick on this person, there's probably a good chance now that y'all have numbers that you all can be moving forward. As a not very mobile weapon, I probably wouldn't push past this pole until you've identified that these two areas are clear. Because a lot of times what will happen is someone will go down, the team that has an advantage is ready to push forward, and people always shark in these spots. That's why I keep pointing them out, because people always love sharking in these areas, and your whole team can start pushing forward and feel like it's safe, and then this person comes out and destroys you. So you know, the question you asked is exactly that is the best question to come out of this review with. And it really just depends. But it's easier to learn if you play your games being more aggressive. Try not to, you know, totally feed and throw the games. But if you have to feed, like you're gonna feed a little bit, and that's healthy. But if you push too much forward, that's when you need to have, you know, think to yourself when like during the death, or if you review your game after, think to yourself, you know, should I have been this far forward? Could I have played around this better? Could I have used toxic mist to give myself more time? Yeah, another thing causing you to play a very passive playstyle, watching tip videos not to die. I mean, not dying is really good. You know, it's an important tip, but you need to contextualize it. And the context for this is the better way to phrase that is that you want to play as far forward as you can without dying, basically. So that's like the other part of it, which makes it this really gray zone, because where it's safe to be is constantly changing throughout the match. But you will stagnate as a player if you're too scared to move forward. At some point you have to understand, and, you know, again, try to have reason. It's a 4v3. Okay, it's probably safe for me to move forward. You know, and other cues and things that can help, you know, like if one side, so like if this whole left side was painted your color, then you don't really have to worry about as many threats over here, and there's probably a good chance that they're going to be doing something from the other side of the map. You aren't doing anything to the enemy team, being alive isn't helpful. Yes, very, very true. So yeah, there's definitely a balance of, it's very important to stay, it's important to stay alive, but it's also important not to, or to provide value. But we'll keep it coming. Because yeah, like your teammate died and they're spamming out, so now is a good chance of like, oh yeah, I probably should check that flank. Or maybe you throw a mist here so you can position a little bit more aggressive and get a better understanding of like where they might be. Perfect. Now you probably want to look to move forward. Yeah, because you just use whale, your teammates using crab. Now would be a good spot to start looking to move a little bit more aggressive. You probably should have moved aggressive with your whale. But when you start moving forward, that's like whoever your teammate died to, they may want to like, once they notice you moving forward, that might be the signal for them to try to flank around because, oh, you know, their backline started moving forward, so there's an opportunity for me to flank. So sometimes you can actually bait the enemy team by playing more aggressive, understanding that there's probably going to be a flank when you start moving forward. So there's like mind games that you can use in there, but yeah. I think the mist you use there is fine, but the mist also provides value, and if you're not using that value, like if someone's stuck in the mist, obviously you want to put pressure on them and hopefully get a free splat out of it. But like if you use mist to slow down a zone, either put a lot of pressure on that mist. So like if you missed here, like when you missed it here, either put a lot of pressure there or use that as a way to control this right side and allow you to advance forward a little bit more safe. Obviously, this mist is like people can still navigate around it and still flank, but yeah, that's something where again, there's no good rule for it. But in general, it's good on choke points. But part of getting good value out of mist is understanding that the enemy team wants to be in the spot, and you're using your mist to force them out. It's the same thing as the charge on your main weapon. Is that explosion damage is zoning, like it does damage, but it also zones them out, and it doesn't allow them to be hiding in comfortable spots, or it doesn't allow them to be comfortable hiding behind cover because you're constantly putting pressure in those areas and they can't just sit there. You're forcing them to move, which is the value. It's basically the value of all of the Stringer kit. Ooh, this was the being careful about the big play potential that we were talking about and not wanting to, you know, this is the potential scariness of being right next to your teammates, and they almost got a triple out of it, but luckily you were able to get out of the way at the last second. Sometimes this happens, but you know, having 3 people sit back here, when they do have something like honestly, just both these specials, but when they have these types of specials available, you need to make sure you're not totally sitting on your teammates. This is unfortunate and this happens, you know, but that's what we wanted to be careful about with our positioning and not having too many backliners and people stepping on each other's toes. Yeah. Where you're positioning now is perfect because your team is like lost control. You may have to push back, like you'll probably, against better teams, you probably have to retreat to your ramp behind you. But this is fine, and like the shots you're getting here is perfect. But you're trying to stall them until your teammates come back, and then you want to try to contest the middle a little bit more. But yeah, at this point, the enemy, like with 2 people down, the enemy is trying to take this space. And that's why retreating back to your ramp a little bit faster is probably going to be better. Oh, you're able to get out nice. Nice. So another like minor thing, and I'm just bringing this up not because like I don't want to micromanage how you play, but I do want to bring up different concepts that you're not probably super familiar with. One thing in these types of spots is the idea of cutting off like choke points and stuff. And this, we see 3 of them right here, one here, and one back here. When they have 3 people stuck on this right side, like pressuring them with your main weapon is good, but you have to also think about like, because part of being a better competitive player is understanding what the enemy team wants to do and being able to stop them from being able to do what they want to do. And again, your shots behind these pillars is part of that process, but like contextually in this spot, when you're asking like when do you use Toxic Mist, like this could be a good example of when you would want to mist. This choke point, a lot of times people will want to navigate through and like go back to mid this way. Obviously, if they go all the way back and then they jump and use their grate, it's a little bit safer. But with the position that they're in, and like if I was a splash or a sploosh or something in this scenario, I would probably like look either to push this person or, you know, retreat back to mid through this little choke point. So, you know, either keeping this your team's paint or this little platform as well. But this could be a spot where using Toxic Mist could get you some value. Because if you throw Toxic Mist here, effectively these people are like trapped or they have to fully retreat. Which again, you all, your team does a good job of cleaning up here. But you know, just as like ideas, I'm trying to give you ideas because I think you're very hesitant and unsure of what you're doing, and instead of trying to experiment more and get more creative, I think you're curling up into a ball and being a little bit more scared to do anything because you're too focused on not dying instead of how do we win the game. You're trying to focus on how not to lose, which can be detrimental to your development as a player. So do I mist open areas? I mean, main shots to pressure, definitely. I would say ideally you want to mist like choke points. So like if there's certain, like this area here is a choke point to get like to flank through. You know, this jump right here, this grate right here is like a choke point because if they want to crash through, they have to get to this grate. No, they're running tenacity into two special charge. I try not to optimize gear too much, but if it's really bad, I would probably say something. But that's tenacity kind of makes sense. I think LDE on average is probably going to be better, just because tenacity is kind of weak and a little bit too situational. But yeah, you know, if the enemy like when you're retreating, this is like, you know, this ramp is like a choke point. And so when you're looking for places to use mist, and it works like on both sides. If you're on defense, you can like use these to like stop people from pushing in. But if you're on offense, then you can hit like these same spots and make it uncomfortable for the enemy team. So like when there's 3 of them stuck here, it's very slow for them and it's congested for all 3 of them to move back here. So getting pressure here, and you could just use your main weapon in this spot. But if, you know, this is a nice spot potentially for your mist, so that you're preventing them from being able to just kind of run through, and you're limiting their options. Either they have to take a fight here, which they don't want to do in a pit and on low ground, or you're forcing them back here, which gives your team time to start moving forward. And when you all are able to move forward, like, you know, because like currently the entire map is basically enemy colored paint. And, you know, you need time to be able to start getting control back. So, you know, forcing these people either getting the picks, which you end up getting, or forcing them to go back this way is a way that they're wasting time. And that gives your team time to start moving forward and painting forward. When do I use mist? So all the questions you're asking is not something that we can provide you answers for. It depends. It depends on, you know, what the threat is. It depends on your team comp, enemy team comp. It depends on your ink, like how much ink you have in your tank currently. You know, like there's a lot of what ifs. So all the questions that you have, you really like write them down and like think about those questions. Find, you know, don't overload yourself with too many things. But you know, like I would probably first start with your positioning and go into a rotation of solo queue and just focus on that positioning question. Once you get more comfortable about where you should be positioning, which it can be tough because it's going to depending on the map. But as you learn the maps and you get that figured out, then you can take, you know, a couple of rotations and be like, you know, oh, I really want to think about how I want to use mist and where I can get value. I don't think that you spam mist quite a bit. Like I think you're probably conservative overall on your usage of mist, but there's definitely a time and a place. And trying to think about when mist can provide value is important. Don't think you'd ever use mist for covering flanks. It's good for slowing stuff down. It doesn't cover the flank completely because they can just ignore it, but it does slow it down and it does have a use. But you know, basically limiting enemy options is when you would want to use mist, is when you can throw it and it limits the enemy's options in a reasonable way. But anyways, y'all are getting some momentum. You can hear the last one underneath you. Nice. So yeah, this is a spot, their team is all coming out of respawn, and like we showed before, most of the map is yellow, the enemy color. So if I'm you, I'm definitely getting off tent. I'm looking to move forward and, like, you know, paint these flanks is always a good habit to do, just as a team. There's not really any one person's role, but like getting those flanks covered is good. And again, pressuring them out of these spots is good as well, because your teammates are going to start getting specials, which you already have 2 now, but you know, kind of the flow of the match, you all retook without specials, which means you're going to have specials when you're holding the zone. So ideally you want to, like, as a team, you want to push in front of the zone whenever it's possible. There was a really good video that talked about, I think it was the line video and stuff. But basically it talked about the fact that, like, you score points in zones by not allowing the enemy to interact with the zone, which basically means as a team, you want to be in front of the zone and position in front of the zone, which it's hard to do, you know, like when you wipe the enemy team, that's an opportunity because you have a ton of space to work with, and that's what you'll want to do. You don't want to set up here when you have the opportunity to take space forward. But you know, that sometimes can help provide another context of when also Woomy, thank you so much for the follow, my friend. But like, that's like your overall goal. Like when it comes to positioning, you want to get into a situation where, like, your charger is sitting here, Splatling, I don't really know exactly where they'd want to sit, probably somewhere in this area, and then your splash can help in this area as well. And so like you'll have like 3 people in this area, you have your charger watching these areas, and you've pinned the team back. Obviously that requires you to win mid first, but you know, like, as you have the ability to take space forward, you want to make sure you're taking it. Unless I squid roll through the mist. You can't squid roll in the mist. You can kind of squid roll through it. Oh, it negates the effect entirely. Interesting. But I only use squid rolls through mist, which using it through actually could be interesting, but I try not to go through mist all that much. But it can help in a pinch. But yeah, you can squid roll off of a wall if you're inside of a mist. Which really is only useful in certain scenarios, in like Rainmaker generally. So I think there's going to be a lot of redundancy of, you know, okay, you're using specials, so let's push with them. So I'm not going to go, you know, I'm not going to keep reiterating, but I think that's kind of what we're seeing with this game. And that's where you'll see yourself with the most value. And you're able to get some chip there, which is good, but yeah, where your team is here, you need to be up with them. For sure. Yeah, we have quite a few reviews ready. Yeah, before you enter it, thank you, Sully. Yeah, we're queued up and ready to go for the night. But thank you though. Yeah, Explo and Stringer have a lot of similarities. And like when these specials are coming out, like the Inkjet and the Trizuka, this goes back to like my philosophy of like trying to play near the ledges when these specials are active, because it allows you to easily drop and like move out of the way or sit back here and like drop out. But you stayed alive, which is good. I should be able to win this at this point. Yeah. So I would say like there's a time and place to be on tent, but sitting there, and this goes for any position, like sitting in any one position for too long is almost always going to be a detriment to your team. But yeah, there's definitely some big concepts here that we'll leave you with, and I think we're all on the same page on what that is. But as the one thing that's really tough, like if you're trying to learn the game and you're trying to improve, on average, you're gonna like improve faster if you push yourself to be more aggressive on average than being more defensive, because you put yourself into more learning situations when you're aggressive. And there's very like overall there's a lot we can take from with this game, but when it comes to like your usage of, you know, the stringer, when it comes to your usage of toxic mist, usage of whale, you know, how to get value, what types of situations you want to use it in, we can't really extract a lot of that because of the way that we're playing too passive. So it's hard to really pinpoint much from that, but yeah, a couple of things. One, it's just in general, like offense. We went through it, but you know, find spots to take space when there's an opportunity. Take space when you have an advantage. ADV, advantage. So anytime your team has an advantage, and that can be number advantage, that can be a special advantage, that can be when a special is being used, like the Inkjet provides a lot of space for your team to move. These are all spots where that should be a cue to you that you want to start moving forward. And this, like, a lot of times when you're like in order to learn and improve, usually it requires you to unlearn a lot of habits that you've developed that's found you success in previous games. But that success is only happening because you're playing against teams that aren't punishing you for it. So yeah. And I think in general, you know, I would say like focus like one thing at a time, basically. So like when we were talking about it, like you asked yourself a lot of really good questions. And I think you're asking the right questions when it comes to mist, when it comes to where do I position when, you know, so you're asking when I push up past the tent, do I position myself on one of the flanks or right behind zone? You're going to do both in a lot of situations. So that's like, again, like all the questions that you're asking, try to focus on one of them. Yo, Carrot, hello. Thank you so much for the raid. I hope you're doing well. The vegetables are here. Hello, Dav, welcome in. Carrot is another competitive gamer. Plays a lot of Splatoon. They also play some Sky, which I know Bab is a Sky connoisseur. I'm guessing you'll probably play some Breath of the Wild, but yeah, hopefully the stream went well. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. We're just doing some VOD reviews, but I hope everything is going well. But all of the questions that you're asking right now is like perfect. These are all the things that you need to be thinking about when you're playing the game. But in order to learn is that you have to you have to push yourself. Yourself, which that means like the whole idea of like limit testing. You have to push your limits so that you can start answering these questions while you play. These aren't the questions that you're asking, as we've mentioned, they're like very much it depends. So it's not, you're not going to get your answer through theory alone. Like you can think about these things of, you know, why would I want to position? You know, why would I need to position behind cover versus out in the open? You know, you want to position yourself in a spot where you can be effective. So as a tri-stringer, getting like dislodging people from areas with your chip. So, you know, you want to position in spots that you're able to hit. So if you can hit them from safe areas, then you can use the safe areas. But if you're, you know, like I think in general, it's good to be out in the open until it's not good. Like if they have an E-liter on their tent, you can't really just sit out in the open because they'll hit you if you're sitting here. Like E-liter is a problem and you're going to want to take more cover until you have specials to push them basically. How often do you do these VODs? We're just getting into the routine. This is day 3, but I want to do them like basically every stream. So it's going to be a consistent thing moving forward. I'm trying to summarize them and shorten them up and putting them on YouTube. So plugging my fun YouTube channel. There's not a lot there currently, but there's 3 reviews up there and some other silliness. But yeah, this is something that's going to be a lot more consistent. So much fast I can't find my last scram. No, I know how that is. That's how I was. I played so much Splatfest and like Tricolor stuff that I couldn't find other streams. I'm gonna add a channel in my Discord for replay codes because it seems like there's a lot of interest in people having their replays looked at, which is very exciting for me. So I'm gonna go just so that we have a better queue and a way to have a systematic approach. Will kind of help with that. So yeah, be out in the open if you can, but like if they're going to use a crab, so like if they're using crab in this spot, you don't want to be out in the open when they're crabbing. You don't want to be out in the open when they're using inkjet, you know, over top the pillars. But there's time, like, you know, depending on the weapons that you're playing against, depending on the current game state, if you're out in the open and 2 of your teammates are down and it's a 4v2 and the enemy team's ready to start pushing in front of the zone, you know, you're going to have a bad time. So it's something that you will learn. This is why solo queue is important, is because you want to come out of your sessions. You don't want to come out of your sessions of like, oh, like I'm S+3 now, or oh, I ranked up or I didn't rank up. Like you want to focus on the exact things that you're asking and how do you actually work on them and how do you get your answers is by testing, the experimentation, you know. Find what's comfortable for you, find what is successful for you and kind of use that, but also understand when you're trying new things, when you're pushing your limits like this, it's going to be worse before it gets better. And that doesn't mean like if it's worse initially, because if you go into your games thinking about being more like positioning more offensive and taking more space, you're going to feed way more than you normally do. And when you start feeding, that's a natural part of the process of you getting better and you understanding where it's safe to be and where it's not safe to be. So when we come out of this review, I don't want you to say, oh, I tried to, you know, move forward and I died and I went 2-7 in this game, so I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm going to, you know, I want to rank up, so I'm going to sit on tent for 90% of the game. And because I was, you know, on average, I was winning more, so I can climb better that way. That is not what I want you to do. You know, you're going to feed, you're going to have bad games. That's okay. As long as you're learning from that feeding, that's how everyone learns, you know. I think your mechanics are like fine enough and like your aim, like you have a lot of really nice shots with your tri-stringer. So I think you're not going to have as hard of a time as you may expect, but you have to be willing to sacrifice some ranked points now for the betterment of your improvement. Because once you learn the questions that you're asking, once you can better assess them in the moment, you're going to rank up super quick. Super quick. The fact that I was getting those shots was a miracle in handheld. Let's go. Let's go. But yeah, failure is improvement. And I think there's a mentality there of you being too risk adverse and you want to be more aggressive. So once you're more comfortable being able to take risk and take, to fail, you're going to push up on this map and you're going to get flanked by this sploosh, you're going to die, and that's okay. Instead of saying, oh, I shouldn't have been, trying to poke at these things. Instead, I need to poke at these things, but I also need to manage these side flanks. And, maybe there's something that clues you in on it. Maybe you throw a bunch of shots over here and someone ends up dropping. And when they drop, the logical thing for them to do next, if it's like a short range weapon, is to go for this type of flank. So if you dislodge someone and you don't see them move back, if they drop off the side instead of moving back, now it's like, oh, I know there's someone in this area. So either they're going to go back up, or if if it's a short range weapon that can get value from flanking, then, maybe there's a flank opportunity there. There's other things that you can do where like you map check to like keep an eye on paint and keep an eye on, those potential flank areas, but I don't want to overload you right now. The biggest thing is all the questions you're asking are perfect. Focus on getting your answers. It's not something like you can ask and get some guidance from people, but you're only really going to like learn it by doing it yourself, experiencing the failure, experiencing the success. So map check on Flounder early for early flanks. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, implementing map checks throughout your matches is really good. And I think understanding when to map check and when not to is tough. And it's something that I'm not perfect at, and it's something I'm actually trying to learn. But I would say, and this is like next, this is after figuring out your offensive position. But as a weapon that chips between your main weapon shots, especially if you hit something and you get the noise confirmed that you hit something, you can check your map and you'll probably get an idea on where people are moving. That's something that I do with expo shots on Crab, where you can kind of like figure out where people are trying to reposition based off of the minimap, because you can like see them on your minimap if you do enough chip damage. So anyway, awesome replay. And I definitely think that it is something that you will get you'll get better at. I think your mentality's there. You just have to be willing to lose a bunch of games to start learning and to start really breaking out of that shell and breaking out of that comfort zone. And I think, if you actually put this into practice for like a week or so, and then, come back in a week, come back in a couple of weeks, come back in a month, however, much time you need. And when you feel comfortable with putting yourself a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more forward, we can look through it and, start actually analyzing it. But, we're too early in the learning process to be able to provide you useful ways to do it. You first have to just get the exposure. Shoot, I'm trying to figure out. I think Sully was next, so we'll go with Sully. Yeah, in certain spots you can still get information without having the map check, but there's a time and place for it. Sometimes it can be very hard to manage because you're like putting your attention away from. Sorry, I'm trying to get a notepad. You have to divert your attention from like the action, and that can be tough. But I think in general, like most Splatoon players should probably get better at map checking, myself included. Because some people just never use it, but there's definitely time and place. Like in Valorant, one of the streamers and players that I watch, I don't play the game, but like Woohoojin does like a lot of coaching, and they have a guide on basically when you should be map checking. The map in Valorant is on the screen, but basically there's like, it's like flipping a switch on and off, And like there's certain times that you should be looking at your crosshair, and there's certain times that you should be looking at the map specifically. I think the way that Valorant plays and Splatoon plays is a little bit different, so it's the parallel is hard, but I think there are some guiding principles, and it's something that I've been thinking about, but it's hard to establish. But if I'm able to establish rules that I think are actually helpful, I'll make a video on it. But I think map checking is it's tough. Wait, did I type in that code? I honestly was not paying attention. Okay. Squiffy, okay. So yeah, context on this. I always try to ask. I need to have a form on the Discord, but what was I gonna say? Just like whatever your rank is, whatever your what's the order? I'm about to start a set. I think there was one other person that had a code. I copied and pasted codes into a notepad yesterday and then I didn't save it. I think you might be next, son, if there isn't another code right now. But there was someone from yesterday and I feel really bad because I don't remember. But that's why I'm after the stream tonight, I'm gonna update the Discord and have like a better way to like formally kind of submit stuff. Or maybe we can do a form or something. I'm not sure. But before we start, I'll just catch up with chat real quick. Sorry, I'm still trying to manage all this. I think there's some good stuff you all were talking about. Yeah, it's always funny. Like people that play handheld are surprised. Like they feel really uncomfortable on docked, and people that play on docked are uncomfortable in handheld. Which I am totally true of that, because if I play handheld, it feels really weird. But I also like, I don't know. I can't use like the Joy-Con on the side for handheld. Like I'd still have to use Pro Controller for handheld, and I think whatever position I play in. I've also played a lot of like console games for a really long time, so I'm just very used to having a dock setup. A week from now, I'm gonna send you a replay of a recent game. Yeah, I'm totally done. You know, to forewarn you, it's going to take more than a week for you to like magically fix these things. It's going to take you quite a bit of time in order to like, because the questions that you're asking is like the difference, like being better at answering those questions can be the difference between like, you know, a good player and a great player kind of thing. So it's something that you're actively going to get better at, but at least if we start seeing you position more forward, I can give you more proactive critiques. But that's definitely the most important thing. The most important advice that I can give you. You know, I think you've identified it and you don't know how to answer it. And instead of avoiding answering the question, try to, you know, give an attempt. If you fail and you feed and you lose, it's okay. There may be someone somewhere on Twitter that screenshots your stuff and being like, "Oh, this person went 1 in 10. Oh my god!" And you just have to accept that happens sometimes. Which that's just people being toxic. You can't worry about it. Every good player has matches where they bottom frag and they feed and they throw the game. If you watched during my zones rotation, I did that again and again and again for different reasons, but yeah. I could definitely be higher in ranks if I controlled my emotions with my team. I have the mechanics down pat. Problem is I gotta work better on the working off what my teammates are doing. Yeah, it's tough. But it's good to identify it, and how you approach it is, it's going to be different depending on comps, and especially in a solo queue environment, you have to adapt like very specific games. But Yeah, it's tough. Did I get scammed? Wait, did you send a code? I think you sent a code yesterday, didn't you? Relatively new to X. Started playing April 22. Nice. Good job. Yeah, X rank, like getting into any higher ranks, you get better through exposure. Even as a competitive player, if you're like a mid-level player, if you're a low level, like playing against mid and high level players and just getting exposed to what that looks like, either playing it directly or watching players better than you is a good starting point. And that'll help you kind of push yourself over time and, always looking for that next step ahead and constantly getting exposed and understanding that, I'm going to play in these games, I'm going to get crushed, and that's okay because next time we'll do better. I'm going to be forced to play docked. Honestly, I think it's better, but you have to have the proper setup because I have like headphones and stuff that I can like hear stuff properly. Go for top 500 or be a part of a team. Currently a free agent, so I'm hoping something will happen because people are shocked that I'm not. Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I think there's a lot of opportunities for people to like make teams and stuff. Admin leader trying to experiment with a frontline strategy. Yeah, that's trolling. Yeah, what's up? Okay, I'll get to it. So Squiffy, we saw a Squiffy clip a little bit ago, but with Squiffer, you're definitely gonna want to be a little bit more aggressive. Oh yeah, it was Hakami that was playing Squiffer, who's traditionally like a leader player. But anyways, in this spot, these comps are neat. Oh, okay, we're playing Zones Mahi, so actually kind of based. Okay. These comps are crazy. So a couple of things that I would say, like they have the most range with E-Leader, which is a little bit scary. I think both teams do a good job between the Chargers and the Blaster. I think both teams actually do a good job of like dealing with ledges. And if you lose control, just pushing in without a plan is going to be very dangerous. And that goes for both sides. I don't know. Being able to find cover, like positioning is going to be very important in this game. Also playing around missiles. Like if I'm your reflux, hopefully they have some good missiles that you can start moving forward with. If you need context, it should be top 500 X rank. I didn't really have a lot of replays. I definitely died to leader more than I should have. Gotcha. Yeah, and this makes sense because this is a relatively slow game where both teams are like looking for opportunities to get picks. So I'm going to guess it's probably something with the positioning. Work on entry better. I see. And also quick build. Just wanted to look, but movement speed. I actually don't know what build Squiffers really use, but the first thing I'll say is that bunching up, and this was similar to like the last review, is that you don't want to be too bunched up with your teammates. Obviously at the very beginning of the match, like everyone can kind of take the same path so you can get to where you want to go faster. But you want to start looking to take different positions, because I think, and this is the problem with like your comp, is that, and it's solo queue, so like adapting is going to be tougher than in other games, but especially in games where you have like double backline or weapons that play the same role, but you only really have like one backline, but there's a lot of this like mid-range kind of action outside of the charger that want to accomplish the same thing. And you want to, part of solo queue is like keeping an eye on where your teammates are positioning and being able to be flexible, especially against like the quickness of dualies, and especially against like these weapons. if you have multiple people sitting like on top of the snipe area or sitting around the same ledge, they're going to get a ton of value. So in terms of like positioning at the beginning, I don't know the best place that I'd want to sit. I'd probably be a little bit safer, and I'd probably play around this left side a little bit more because there gives you a little bit more space. This pillar is really good both on offense and defense. So like if you start left, you may be able to like potentially push toward this pillar, but as a team, you kind of need to spread out and chill. But yeah. Obviously grouping up is going to cause issues and Blaster is going to chew you up. But I would say at the beginning of these matches, like using this left side helps a lot. Oh, you're playing against Lovestar. Yeah, it's tough. Lovestar is going to hold forward always and is always going to feed, but their mechanics are really good. So it's like, if you can prevent, like if you can get a step ahead of them, then they'll feed a lot to you, but they're always willing to like be aggressive and are always willing to feed. So they make a lot of big plays often. As a fake Lovestar? Oh, I see. Gotcha. But yeah, I think playing around this left side gives you a little bit more space and more room to maneuver. The other thing is that if the situation gets bad, you have the ability to retreat back here so your team doesn't get fully wiped. So I probably wouldn't stack everyone on to snipe, because in order for this initial push to work with 3 people going this way, people are gonna have to start dropping down this, like someone has to take like this pillar and someone else is gonna have to end up going left anyways. And it's very risky for the type of comp that you're playing. But again, in this spot, if you have gotten wiped in this kind of scenario, this comp is tough, but you know, definitely keeping, because I don't really know, leader probably is going to end up positioning here if you stay for like, if you get spawn camped for too long and you're stuck on your side of the base for too long. So you do want to have like a play ready, but positioning here is going to be very important. And you're basically waiting for missiles or waiting for someone to get a pick, because it's going to be tough. I think holding this ramp so that the Dapple doesn't continue moving forward is probably the best you can do right now. But you're going to want to start looking forward, like start looking to move forward when your team has specials. So Tri-Strike is decent at it. Missiles are really, really good. And it's range blaster rate, so it should have Wavebreaker. You can play around Wavebreaker, but it's a little bit, you have to be a little bit more patient. But yeah, sitting in this spot is like a death sentence because, yeah, a good trade. It's tough, but you're able to trade out of your base so your team can start moving forward. Again, you're going to want to, like I'm keeping an eye. So as we learned before, I wouldn't position right side with the rest of your team. Because again, as we mentioned, I don't think you have enough control to be able to start playing on this right side. As you're building, starting on the left is generally going to be safer because there's more cover, you have the ability to retreat, and you can play around. If there's an opportunity to move forward, you can use this pillar. Like a lot of times the enemy team is going to take this pillar, like the pillar farthest. So if you want to play left, I would do that. If you're over here, you can potentially look to play around this pillar. You can play around people in mid, but you know, if the enemy team, like their leader is probably going to be sitting up on the this snipe area, maybe back here depending on the circumstances. But you know, if you want to look for more aggressive angles on them, this is where you probably want to take use of this this pillar here. But constantly going right side is going to be tough. It's time and place, but like these comps are really weird, so you have to play kind of unorthodox. But I think as a Swiffer, you probably want to use this left side more often on average, unless you have a team that's like all like splashes and short range shooters and stuff. Then you can probably be the one that's like kind of looking to position around your snipe area. Nice. Yeah, because right now you're using this as cover, and then the blaster moves forward, and then 3 of y'all are in trouble again. Nice shot. That's actually good. And I was gonna say, you're 1000% jumping in. Even if you didn't have stealth jump here, which you do, if you didn't have stealth jump, you're still jumping here, but. Yeah, and now it's trying, and I think this is like where you're starting to have questions of like, where should I position myself? And again, like this pillar's open. This is like, I think this works really well for you because you actually have the ability to kind of move up a little. Like you can charge behind this pillar and you can control this ledge pretty decently and you can prevent them from taking this type of spot. You have to be careful because when you're positioning here, you do have to be careful about chargers sitting on this like perch because they, just you have to be mindful of it. And if you see them there, you have to position yourself around this pillar to like cut off that angle basically. But I really like you being in the spot. With you wiping them, I'm totally fine with you taking these more aggressive angles and stuff. But just in general, when things are a little bit more congested, it seems like most of your team is enjoying playing on the right side. So just to be able to adapt to the situation, looking to make plays on left will probably help a little bit. But this positioning is totally fine. I think even in this situation, it's totally fine. I'd probably, I think you used a sensor, but yeah, sensors are good here. Perfect. Yeah, and now your team's position, like, I think now your team is actually like adapting. Like, oh, Squiffer's got this right side, so they're going to move left, which is good. Like, the Charger's totally fine here. So like this is good for your team. Yeah, this is kind of tough. I would honestly, in a spot like this person moves up. I think going for this shot initially is good, but if you're looking at what your teammates are probably going to do in these types of scenarios, you're all probably focused on this type of area. And because your teammates are holding this left side, I kind of like the angle that they get over here. So the first shot that you do, because you see them with the sensor, I think that's totally fine. But once that misses, I wouldn't keep because you have to hit a shot on a tough angle through the wave breaker. And like these shots are very low percentage. So I would either back up completely and play a little bit safer, or at least get better vision on what's happening on the right side, because there's probably people that are like dropping through. And again, the enemy team, especially Dapples, but probably, I mean, Blaster's here as well, but Dapples, Blaster in certain spots, and Squiffer, they're probably going to be playing through their left side, or where you're at now, the right side. So I'd be a little bit more cognizant of how they're approaching there, because the water just went up or down or whatever. There's more map now, so all of this is not painted. So like if you have to take a fight over here, you haven't painted, and like you're the only one that's positioned here on the right side. So if you want to maneuver over on this side, you're going to have to paint it yourself. But realistically, this is an opportunity. I think the initial shots are good, but I would probably start to look to play around this pillar and fight on the right side. Like once you get paint, you can play around this block a lot better. And if you have control, you can play around this area. Because a very good spot, like where you're at before, is good. Because if you watch this side, you can see people that are coming in, and you can get really nice shots if you're already like charged up. So the positioning is good, but because you don't have any paint, being in the spot's a little bit scary. So you can always retreat back to here, but you'll get the initial pick, so it's good. But identifying that you're the only person on the right side and that you're responsible for anyone that's dropping out on the right side is something to keep in mind in these types of scenarios, because once they get through, your team's done. Like y'all are really good with ledges, but once they break through, like both comps are kind of done. Yeah, I think taking that space is generally going to be a lot better. Again, I like the first shot that you took because you had the information and the timing was fine, but once you miss that shot, you can't like tunnel onto that, because A, it's low percentage, and B, the more comfortable you are on this map, you just know that people are going to be flooding in from the right side. Yeah, so this is a little bit more tunneling because you end up in the spot, you spot the person that's over here on the left, which is good. Like you spot that there's someone up here, which is good, and you like go for a shot, which is a little bit risky, especially since it's a blaster, but I'm fine with it. But focusing on this person again, like you kind of have to trust that your teammates are good with this, especially with the reef slider in. Like basically everyone on your team like can one shot a target that's not moving after a reef slider. So you kind of have to trust, and especially since you know that there's someone over there, when you start committing, and especially when you reposition and drop down, like they're looking for you. This was a very easy to predict type of spot there. So it's good that you got the pick, but I would trust that your teammates can do that so that you can focus on other stuff. Because you got them, but they don't have you. And that was the same thing on the right side. Like you were trying to help them, but they didn't really need help. They needed you to focus on the other part of the map that wasn't currently covered, where the enemy can threaten ledges. Which in certain spots, you know, it's solo queue, people are going to make mistakes. That dapples might not immediately die, but, you know, assuming that your teammates are taking a 2v1 and, you know, after using a reef slider, they're very vulnerable. Like you have to take the odds that your teammates are going to get that, and you have to worry about other stuff. This is a little bit scary without paint, but I can, like, you're positioning so that you can back out whenever you need. Nice shot. So yeah, I think that's fine. The initial drop was a little bit scary because I don't think we had full presence of where everyone was, but I like that you positioned around the block so that at any point you can jump out. Yeah, this angle is like perfect. Like you can like sit here. I mean, you can sit back here as well. But you know, sitting here and watching this is good. And as you were doing, like it's very common for people to come across this way. If you're playing against crabs, a lot of times they'll want to crab up here, but obviously that's not in the scheme. But yeah, this is good. I like the positioning. Oof. That you later just kind of forgot about you. But that play was good. Like getting the initial pick was good, and then you took a risky fight after, but I'm okay for you going for it. Sometimes like it's like risk and reward, and if you just jump out immediately, you can retake with the bubble, but the bubble isn't that great for retaking. So like, you know, taking that extra shot and getting the second person, it allows you to be able to, like, retaking as a team is so like basically free if you get a second pick, even though it's like, oh, it was initially a 1v4 and then you got it down to a 1v3. If you get it down to a 1v2 against this comp, especially with your special, but even without special, I think it's worth that risk. But jumping out is another option, but I like the way you played that. Yeah. You could have potentially jumped to the left side, but it's definitely scary. So I saw the hesitation because you're trying to figure out if you should jump or not. I actually don't know the answer. I would have been tempted to jump, but yeah, I don't know. But I feel you. Yeah. I like that you're repositioning here, but yeah, this map is tough. And again, when it comes back to the comps from like the very start, and these types of situations, like your team gets the initial pick and then one of your teammates goes down, and like now you're like, oh, this could be a good spot, I'm ready to push in. Once this person gets sniped and it's you in the reflux, I probably would be more tempted to position on the left side because this person's probably not going to be able to support you very well. And you're at this point, you can take more aggressive positions. Like you don't have to play from all the way back here because you have enough space to start. Shoot, you have space to be able to play around like you can position yourself probably around this area and around this area so that you can keep the enemy team honest. Like a lot of times you've seen this crossfire because a lot of times, especially Blaster is going to want to sit in these types of spots. So Dropping right is very scary because you're basically stuck either behind here or maybe you can get behind here, which you end up trying for. But yeah, probably could help your Lux. Not that. I mean, I don't know. They just had their special ready. I think in their scenario, they probably should be playing behind cover and waiting for you all to come back in. They got picked because they got a little bit greedy, but you're unable to assist there. But yeah, dropping right is I don't like my chances playing with a reflux against a leader and then the rest of their team coming in faster than your team. Because they got the picks after your team got the picks, so their timing window is going to be faster than yours, and there's a better chance that they're probably going to jump to their E leader because it's going to be safer because there's only a reflux left and you're still swimming in. And so yeah, they get to mid faster than you, and that's why dropping to the right side is going to be scarier. If your team already had control and you get to right before they do, like, I think it's fine to drop, but if you have to retake a little bit more honest, especially with specials, like playing through left side's probably better. Maybe you can have like your charger or something, like sit on one of these areas and control like people poking from this pillar, but you're probably gonna have to, you know, like positioning up here or like keeping this block safe. It's gonna be tough. Nice shot. In these types of spots, like you really need a special for like a consistent retake. I think going for the plays you're going for is fine, but it's like it's really important for your reflex to get missiles in these types of spots. But you're fighting for space that I think it's fair to fight for. So I don't think you're playing wrong, but it's hard because your team needs a special to go in. But you do have a wave breaker. Someone's finally able to get a special, so I would play it a little bit, not slower. I think your positioning is totally fine here, but see if we can cook up some value with the wave break. But again, you've done a really good job of identifying that their team wants to use this slick area, which is very common on this map. And I think your positioning is good for it. Unfortunately, you don't get the pick, but yeah, this positioning is a little bit risky because of the leader, but I don't know, because like you know that they're like they just shot at you, so they know that you're like a threat and a presence. You see this person marked. I like this first shot is great. I love this. After this shot, I would not sit out in the open. It's up to you to make a decision. You're running around a good amount of QR. Yeah, you're good. You're good. But in this type of spot, when you get this pick, and you know leader's still in this type of spot, even if you can trade here, like you need to reposition immediately. Either you go back to here, or if you want to take a more aggressive angle, like you're more than happy to play around this pillar. You just have to position yourself so you don't get sniped, which is it's definitely doable. Panic for zone. I think, yeah, I can understand that, but like the pick that you got is like enough. It's not your responsibility to take zone at this point. It's your responsibility is to make it so your teammates can actually like push forward when they're coming back in. I don't know how close you are to your special at this point, but you know, having another special would definitely help. Like it's a good shot, but you're basically guaranteeing a trade, which your team should be able to retake. But if this leader's playing a little bit better, I think after you get the initial pick on the their Squiffer, they're probably like they should probably splat you if you're sitting out in the open like this before you get this shot on the dapples. So I'd much rather you reposition and just stay safe. That's tough. You could potentially make a point that bad playing splash. Oh no. You could make a like, or sorry, we missed the shot before. So after this shot, I'm probably like, it's the same exact thing as before. Like this is the exact same scenario where you take your first shot, which I think is totally fine, but you're out in the open after that shot. And I would like to see you reposition. So I don't really know how well this works as cover against a leader. I'm probably not very good at all. But I'd like to see you either go here or like go back to your zone and again potentially play around this pillar, just depending on where your team's positioned. But if you sit out in this open for like a second shot, we've seen 2 times in a row that it makes you very vulnerable. And any good a good leader is probably gonna snipe you there, but that range is tough. Yeah, the chase was a little bit hard. I like the initial shot though. I think the initial shot's fine, but being ready to get into cover behind, like after that first shot is probably what's most important. Yeah, because even here you're doing it again. Take the first, like you take one shot and then you stay in the open. And I don't think we fully are, I don't think we know where the leader is. Like they're not looking at you, but they very well could. Didn't know Cardi B was the leader, man. Yeah. Like you didn't, there was no punishment there, but if they had leaders situated over here, or even if they were situated in the spot over here, after that first shot, you're potentially donezo. I like that you repositioned after, but I think you should probably do it like after one shot, unless you know the coast is clear. That was left peek, which is tough, but that was a good timing poking out. This is really good. Whew. I don't know why leader's all the way over there. That's crazy. They forgot what weapon they're playing. Oh. Nice. Really good job spacing in this entire area. Like, I like that you constantly kept repositioning backwards and put yourself in a spot where you can help against the dapples, but the dapples can't get like a 2-for-1. Which would be like a miracle play, but you know, making sure that they can't fight all of you. And you know, again, that's the nice thing about playing with chargers is that if you stay alive long enough, eventually they might be able to just like save you out of the spot completely. This positioning's totally fine. This is like super minor, but because we want to play around this pillar, I love this pillar, but I would probably get this painted up real quick. Like it's super minor, but if you know you're gonna have to play around this later, I'd probably just like tap shot it real quick just so that you don't get caught in a spot where you're fighting enemy paint while you're trying to dodge a leader. Just because like in these types of spots you have time. Like your teammates are like overextending, but y'all should have, like you should have time. Yeah. Again here, I think it's when you have 2 teammates go down, this spot I actually really like because the enemy team is like ready to move forward, especially since your team has a lead. I love going for this initial play, especially since you have information and like your camera, like the angle is like perfect. Like you have your target ready to go. Unfortunate, I'm okay with this spot after. After the shot, I'm probably looking to reposition, which truthfully, even if you escape here, you're probably getting splatted, but so I can understand kind of you're in a desperate spot, so you go for the desperate play. But I do like the first pick. But I do think there's a consistent habit in a lot of these of overstaying your welcome as a squiffer. I think usually get that first pick and first opportunity and then like look to reposition. But I think going for the play that you went for, you're probably going to go down because of the way the blaster was pushing. Sheesh. Yeah. Again, super minor, but your positioning is very prone to getting leadered. Like you should, like this pick's perfect. Yo, what's up, Solos? This is fine. this shot and drop after, you should die always. This leader should always splat you on this spot. But I do like you repositioning after, but you have to be very careful. I think you're gonna get punished very often by a lot of like, as you continue to rank up and play against better opponents, you're gonna get exposed in a lot of those areas. But a really, really good Squiffer play. Like I love the aggression, and I love your that is a cucumber. Yeah, what's up? Is it the AI 6? Is that supposed to be a G? But welcome in. Hello. So, not a ton to say, but I think there's definitely some really good pain points that you pointed out against the leader, which goes back to like your positioning kind of, or your lack of repositioning. Call you AI. Thank you. Appreciate your patience with me. But I hope you're doing well. So, oops. Okay. Couple things there. I love drawing on Mahi. It's nice and blue. Yeah, we gotta hydrate. If I'm doing so many reviews, I can't keep getting up for water. We have to make a stand. This is proper hydration here. I just spill it so much because it's like it's as big as Hydrator 3000 real. A Bab-sized water bottle is nice, but when it's kind of full, sometimes that thing will just pour out. Oh yeah, we're talking about Bother V stuff. So the first thing is adapt. Over time, I'll get better at drawing or writing with my mouse, I promise. Adapt your position. This comp is like, this is putting you to the test because this is tough. Honestly, from both sides. If I was on either team, I'd be kind of sad. But I don't know. The more I look at it, as long as you play Squiffer properly, it's not the worst thing. But you know, make sure that you keep an eye on what your teammates are doing. And yeah, NAX rank, the GOAT. Unfortunately, even in the other region, it's still some goofy comps. But you know, part of this is gonna be map knowledge. Because I think you're comfortable with like power positions on this map and like the default comfort positions, but I think there's more creative ways that you can play that you weren't necessarily taking as much advantage of. So part of the adapting the position is like I guess the other thing would be like bunching equals liability depending on the comp. And I think when you're actually taking fights, you did a good job not to bunch up with your team, but sometimes like, you know, getting the mid at the beginning of the match is a good example. There's a lot of spots where it's easy to autopilot and you're just going to like those default spots that you'd probably normally sit in, which like you probably take this spot with Squiffer a lot. And if you notice like 3 people over here and you're playing against a blaster and another charger, it's potentially scary. So you'd want to route yourself a little bit different and you know, look to play around this piece of cover, potentially look to play around this if you're getting heavily pushed. And you know, you can use this area to keep your players safe. Especially for that build. Fair. So yeah, that being able to adapt your position, and then like again, if your whole team, when you have control and the enemy team's trying to retake, just making sure that you all don't bunch up with the same idea, which I think you did at the very beginning. You ended up holding the spot, which is totally fine, I think it's like totally fine. And your teammates did the work of repositioning themselves. They're like right here. But like your reflux was here, your charger was here. And like it was nice of them to be able to reposition for you. But you know, if for whatever reason, if your charger is sitting here with you, I would probably look to, but you know, eventually find the way to reposition yourself. You don't have to immediately like dash over there because it's, you know, there's a smart way to play it. I think you understand that, but just in general, just try to understand the habits of both teams, and especially with your teammates and how they're positioning. Just make sure that you can avoid bunching up. The other thing is move and reposition. After shots. Just after shooting. And this is something that you put yourself into a lot of scary situations. You're out in the open here against this leader. You take the first shot, get this pick, which is awesome. Like you get the pick in mid. That's like, I'm totally fine with you popping out. Like even when you pop out like this, you are at risk from the leader, but I'm okay with that initial like pop out. But you have to know whether I hit this shot or not, I need to reposition immediately. Same thing happened when you got picked here. You went for this shot on the person retreating, which is like, again, I like the play. You had the info. You have to move after that. Take cover. And while it's extra important against a leader, this is something that you should just get into the habit of doing. And it's something that, you know, I need to do better as well. And I think a lot of players need to do better as well. But I go back to a lot of machine players in Japan. Like, I talked about it briefly when Bab did his machine review on Brandwalder, but try to get into the habit of proactive, whatever, that's one word, proactive movement. Basically with the thought process of, you know, if I expose myself to the enemy team and I take a shot, or I throw a bomb, or I use special in a certain area, quickly look to find spots to take cover behind. Even this little pillar here is better. Because people are gonna like when you make noise, people are gonna like look in your direction. And you know, against machines, it's super important. Even against shooters, like anything fast, like they'll try to run you down. E-leaders, obviously, don't want to be out in the open against E-leaders, but like the more you play against other weapons and like the more that people look to punish these things, you can just actively keep yourself alive more often by getting into the habit of proactively moving between shots and just always like kind of expect there might be some pressure. It's not something that you may like outside of like playing against leaders, like you may not see like, oh, that, you know, I moved after that shot and it saved me. But there's a lot of situations where you may have been in danger and you didn't even know because people may have been hiding or people may have like been looking to push. But you know, being more proactive with your movement, whether you're under a threat or not, because that's the thing. I think your movement and repositioning is fine when you're under an active threat, but it's like on average you'll save yourself more deaths by just getting into this type of habit. So, you know, like especially if you're like grinding solo queue or playing competitive or whatever, at a certain point, and like where the point that you're at, like your mechanics are awesome, your special usage, your bubble's kind of weird, but I think you used it in really great spots. I think your sensor usage was really, really good. And your awareness of, you know, checking for people under slick, checking for, you know, holding this type of angle and checking for people that are dropping. You're at a point where you have so much knowledge that you're working on like fractions of little bits of improvement that like overall there's probably a lot of improvement that we can all do, but like when it comes to playing at this caliber of play, it is, you know, staying alive maybe, and I think it's way higher, but even if you stayed alive like 2% or 3% more often over the course of a rotation, maybe this proactive movement for a whole rotation keeps you alive and reduces your deaths to 2 or 3. But like that matters. This is huge. I think it does it a lot more because I think there's a lot of spots where you should have gotten splatted this game that you didn't, and there were spots where you like. I think proactive movement saves you in about at least 5 deaths just this game, and some of them you got punished for, some of them you didn't get punished for. Been trying to work on moving around more, or if they have a better leader. Yeah, I think you play around cover, like charging behind cover and popping out and getting your shot. You're very, very comfortable. Just try to remember to move after that first shot, regardless of the outcome. It's the same thing that shooter players get into trouble with, where they, you know, you move cleanly into a fight, and let's say you're playing Splash, you shoot 4 shots at someone, and only 3 of them land. And instead of like taking your shots and then repositioning out of habit, it's like, oh, they have 3 shots in them, I just have to land 1 more. So they're just gonna like stay in place and be a turret and not have that fluid motion like built into their memory, and or like their subconscious, so they don't have to think about it. And that will cause them to trade a lot more often. Sometimes they'll get those picks because, oh, it's 1 more bullet, and then they hit the next bullet and they're fine. But there's definitely a lot of situations where, you know, oh, I just need to hit 1 more shot, but this person's like, I missed 1 of my shots because this person's moving really fast, and then like, I don't know. They're just, they have to, instead of needing to just hit 1 more shot, they may keep missing, and then they have to shoot 5 more shots, and you know, staying in place for 9 shots in total is like definitely a death sentence. So there have been other games where I've only died to leader on Mahi. Everything else no problem, but leader gets me. Yeah, it's really the positioning that's important, and also just like playing around specials. That's the thing where like if your teammate was a little bit more proactive with their missiles instead of like, there's certain spots, especially at the beginning. Oh, AI, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Like if you have missiles that are like, the reflux is thinking, you know, my goal this game is just to missile this leader at all times, it makes your life a lot easier. So sometimes your teammates, if they have crabs, if they have, you know, tri-strike, if they have any solid displacement special, they can save you in those spots. It'd make your life easier, but you know, really being super careful and, you know, thinking about every decision when it comes to positioning against a leader will help you a ton. Because there's some times where like it just, you may just trade, like you pop out, you have to take a risk because there's an opportunity for you to get a splat. Sometimes you may not hit it and you get splatted immediately. Like good leaders are going to do that to you. But it's those, you know, you lingering around for too long and leader getting value that we start running into issues. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think some people had interest in sending reviews and may send them in the future, but I think Sun is next in terms of someone that hasn't had a review yet that would like a review. Just because I want to at least get to everyone at least once. And especially if people want to do more reviews in the future, like it'd be nice to at least have everyone on the board one time so we can see some progress. Should make a list. Yeah. I'm working on trying to think of how I want to organize it. Like right now it's still very manageable, but if we ever get to the point where there's like a huge demand for it, we may have to do like raffles and stuff and like you know, we can put a limit on how frequently people can win raffles so that everyone has a chance, but yeah, we'll see. But the demand right now is like we're chill, but it might be something that later on we. But either way, I need to be more organized with my codes. So I think there was one more. Maybe not. Yeah. There was one more that I missed from yesterday. I don't remember who it was, and I feel so bad because they were so nice and like they were just like awesome. I don't know. There's a lot of you guys are awesome in chats, but you know, I always feel bad if I don't like reciprocate and give proper thanks for it. Yo, Sully, thanks for the follow, and I really appreciate the review code. So yeah, we'll go with Sun next, so I'm not just sitting here and not doing anything. If I miss someone, feel free to like kind of bully me a little bit. Keep going. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. And no, you're fine. I never appreciate I always appreciate follows. I never expect people to follow or whatever, even if you do want to participate or whatever. But you know, the fact that you do it is very, very much appreciated. So sorry, let me /user Sun. Yeah, I think doing it in the Discord once I have it set up, I'll get it set up for before the next time. So that I can start like farming codes. It's gonna be bad if we have a backlog of codes. Like a day or two before the new season, I have to like do like a 10-hour, 12-hour stream of just reviews to like get behind the backlog before the codes just disappear. All right. Wait, didn't Sun submit a code? I swear I just saw it. Oh, here it is. Okay. But yeah, AI, if you have a code, honestly, it would be most appreciated for me, and this goes for anyone, if y'all would be able, and joining the Discord is probably the easiest way to do it. I can get the command, just the ! Discord. If you join the Discord, you don't have to stay in the server if you don't want to. Obviously, it's always appreciated, but I'm still trying to work on how I want to reorganize the server. But if you go in there and like just send me like a DM for right now with whatever the code is, that'll help me stay a lot more organized, because I kept 3 codes in a notepad yesterday and I ended up shutting down my computer and didn't save it, so again, I feel awful, but yeah, that's probably the best way to probably the best way. Yo, what's up, son? Give you 30 seconds. All right, I need to use the restroom because I'm using the Hydrator 3000. So I'll use the restroom real quick. Everyone else get water if you haven't. Stretch if you need. And we'll get into some. I'm loving all the splat zones. I need to resend the one from yesterday. Oh no, I can look for it. I can /user. I'm not sure how many I'm gonna be able to do for. Actually, I could click your name, but that'd be... I just want to see the build real quick. Okay. I'll be back. But no, I got your... I should be able to scroll and find your code. If you do have the code right on you, feel free to send it again, but... Oh no, no, I got it. No, I got it. We're good. We're chilling. But yeah. If y'all need like a snack or something, I'll be like about a minute. But yeah, in the future, I'll get, and by future I mean I'm gonna work on it after the stream. I'll figure out a good way to get all of these codes in a place, and then over time, if there is like a huge demand, which I've been really just excited that there is any demand, but yeah. I'll be right back in like 2 seconds. 1 second. 2 seconds. 1 second. Give me a little bit. Sorry, I'm like clicking around. I got so many windows open right now. All right, BRB. Okie dokie. Sorry about that. Everyone got to chill out and start charging early so people don't know what to expect. Wait, what do you mean charging early? Was that me? No, I was saying it before, like my overall goal would be to like, because again, there's like a Valorant streamer, Woohoojin. I really like their style of like coaching and stuff, but they have it set up to where like, I mean, they have like 1K plus viewers consistently, so like they're making like a living. They actually move full time to stream stuff, which I'm not trying to do, but basically like they make so much money with just like support and everything that they actually like, he actually pays people to do reviews. Like he'll give feedback to people and say, you know, I think you should work on this, this, and this, like the repositioning and, you know, not staying out in the open after the first shot with like Sully. And the next time, if Sully is able to do that, then, you know, like give out a gift card or some way to, you know, incentivize people to want to actually improve. That would be my overall goal. Obviously, I'm a poverty streamer, so like I can't give people, yeah, I can't give out like $15 like gift cards or whatever, but you know, that would be the end goal, is to find a way to like actually like give back to you all. So if I could get there at a certain point, that'd be sick, but I don't know if we're there. Yo, how am I gonna pronounce that? Wait, there was a raid? Did I miss something? Hello. Wait, did I miss something? Hold on. Nothing went through on my end, but I'm glad you all are here. Scrapnel? I don't know how to pronounce that, but welcome in. Oh, coming from YouTube? Oh, wait. That's crazy. How do you do a YouTube raid into Twitch and actually have people follow you? Vic is the GOAT. I'm sure everyone knows Vic, but go give them all of the support on all of the platforms. Yeah, that coordination is next level. But hello everyone, welcome in. We're doing some reviews. We're actually watching people play video games. Also, Vic, I love the the poll video that you did for the Wahoo World poll. I was walking the dogs and watching the video a little bit earlier, and it was very, very, very entertaining. But I hope you're streaming well. I know that you were looking to very important to share. We click on blue link, y'all are the GOAT. But yeah, I know that you have some plans for the new Breath of the Wild coming out later this week, so y'all are probably having some. Definitely really excited for the end of the weekend. I don't know when I'm gonna pick the game up, but I'll probably watch other people play it. I feel like it's the type of game, at least for me. I know some people don't want spoilers, but I'm less worried about it. But yeah. Got this place. Oh yeah, you're playing Splatoon 2. Oh yeah, you can do Splatfest. I wonder if at some point we're gonna be able to use the Triforce map again. That'd be really neat. Haven't been spoiled so far. Well, don't worry, I'm not super caught up on it, but the trailers looked really cool. Did I reveal the thing? Wait, do I have a thing? I don't know if I have a thing. But yeah, thank you everyone. Much appreciated. Yeah, we'll get into it. So wait, son, is this solo? Was this the Colo stuff, or was this X rank? Replay stats? No, I didn't. Yo, Vic, thank you so much for the follow. Too kind, as well as everyone else. X rank, I see. Yeah, I didn't think everyone. Y'all are so nice. Is it Nuncle Sam Slammy? I'm so bad. I can't pronounce anything, so please correct me. And I appreciate your patience. Becky Bot, thank you. It's a fun name to say. It is the Vic. Colo worth not worth reviewing. Alright, so we'll start. Sun is my teammate, for anyone that doesn't know. There was no preferential treatment for this review, maybe a little bit. But they are a Charger main, so they're gonna be playing leader in this. Yeah, the 8s server. This is just a solo queue game, like X Battles, X Rank, whatever it's called in this game. But we both played a little bit of the it. No preferential treatment. Yeah. Sun might be the best charger that still remains that hasn't flexed. Although Sun plays heavy and Explo and all these other things. So anyways, we're looking at comps. There's going to be a whole lot. There's two Splash Neos on both teams, so there's gonna be a whole lot of chaos happening basically this whole game. Oh, another try. A lot of try strikes going on. So both teams are going to be moving around a lot. I'm imagining both teams are going to be using their specials to specifically dislodge the chargers. So this is less for Sun. For the rest of the team, they're probably going to want to look to move forward and find opportunities to push when using specials. But they want to target specials on these. For Sun specifically, having to deal with Luna zipcastering, I think zipcaster and like inkjets and stuff are really good on this map because you can approach from very unconventional angles, like using this back area or inkjetting over. There's a lot of really interesting spots that you can use some of these specials. So I feel like we're going to see Sun in a world of pain this game, is my guess. But I do like, overall, I like the comp slightly better. Partially because charger diff, and I don't think Luna is as good, but I do think the zipcasters are super dangerous. I don't know if there's a strat for this, but shooting through grates is so hard to hit. I don't run into that issue. Are you specifically talking about this grate? Because I think the collision on this part of the grate is like really weird because of like the glass. Like sometimes hitting shots, like a lot of my bullets as a shooter player, a lot of my bullets will hit the glass. In general, I have way more trouble hitting through it. I don't know. I feel like chargers just shoot through objects, so I don't know why you're having any problem. But I don't know. I think it is definitely something you get used to. I definitely feel more confident going for shots through grates as I've played the game more. But like this grate in particular, it's like very easy to go underneath and get shots. As a charger specifically, I'm not too sure, but I will say the hitbox is sometimes kind of rough. Oh, also you're playing against, do they go by one shot? I actually don't know, but they're from Michelin Heroes. Very, I think like Div 1 or Div X. Very good charger. Was actually in one of my games earlier, and I think I threw, so my bad. Anyways, let's get into the action. I'm guessing both leaders are going to take very standard areas. Oof, that's a nice shot. Their leader actually went... So on this map, and I'm not sure from your perspective, Sun, if you actually have a preference. I know we talked about it a while ago, but have you experimented like using charger around the spine area like more often? Do you oh, Rafa too. This is like a whole game of celebrities. But do you play like charger around these like more unconventional angles? Top on solo? Gotcha. I can see. I like top, but I know that sometimes I'll play against chargers and they mix it up and I didn't know. Could I not notice Rafa? Yeah, I missed it as well. I had Rafa in one of my games earlier. I think I also lost. I was doing a little bit of feeding earlier. It's better for me to do some reviews right now. I'm kind of scared with your positioning. I don't know. I'm not sure how good you are with like your sound and spatial awareness. But with them throwing these tri-strikes, I'm actually concerned that I could be stuck. And especially being on glass, I could be stuck. This might be a scenario. Sometimes you need a thing. You may just have to trust that you're not going to get splatted in this spot, or at least you can get, you know, you can see the little indicators. But this is kind of scary. I thought it was my strike. Okay, gotcha. Because your positioning here is compromised, but you didn't get hit, so I think you're fine. But I'm a lot more nervous for you than you seem to be for yourself. Is there a reason why you dropped there? Is there something specific that you were looking for that you're like trying to avoid? That was your strike. Bro's all mixed up with the strikes and which team they're coming from. I thought maybe you were going for a shot, but you didn't. Like, I think if you had a charge, I could kind of see it. But you're also playing scope, so that probably isn't feasible. You're good. You're good. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. You're gonna be hearing a lot of strike noises all game, so being able to tell what's going on is tough. What? Oh, was that, I guess, Wavebreaker? Wait, what was that? I'm so confused. No. Nintendo's big strike sound coming soon. Yeah, it's a solo. The 5 tri-strike solo game. Yeah, I feel like you're repositioning once your team has control. I feel like you can probably be more aggressive, honestly, because the comp that you have is really good. At least, especially the Neos are really good at consolidating paint. So I feel like I would probably look to push up. I don't know like range with scoped leader. I probably wouldn't drop left or right, but I think you can push all the way up to this pillar and look for shots there. Scared of Luna? I guess that's fair. I trust my teammates more than you trust your teammates. Nice. Yeah, for the exact play you're going for is like perfect. But I think you can be there sooner. Yeah, Rafa's good with Luna. Don't get me wrong, but I think you're safer to move there a little bit faster. Nice shots. Yeah, like in general, I like this spot. I think you could have moved faster, but this is good. Also, I don't really pay attention to when you use the wave break, but I'm gonna be very like pedantic, is that the word? Like very specific. I'm gonna nitpick your gameplay, son, because A, I know who you are, and B, you're really good at the game. Yeah, 85% on e-leaders. Yeah, I'm wondering why you wave break here. Maybe you... I'm guessing because you saw your slosh go down, you assume Luna's gonna still be alive. But even if Luna was alive in this spot, I would be like repositioning before I throw the wave break. Because I think I'm more scared of getting splat while throwing this out. So, don't want to hold it for too long, I guess, but like, what value does it give you when you're keeping them on plat and suppressing them with your... Or does that go... Yeah, that doesn't go over the top, does it? I don't think so. There's no way, yeah. I guess it helps with spine a little bit. Splat by what? Well, no, I'm saying I thought you initially. Wait, did I miss one? What's after this? So right here, I thought maybe you see your teammate go down and you assume that the Luna's still up. And I thought that's why you used it. Oh wait, do you throw Weightbreaker on this pillow and it hits up there? That's actually some sick tech. Is that what you're saying? So if you throw it on top of this thing, it like the back end of it hits this. That's actually kind of sick. Okay. I would say I'm stealing it, but I'm never playing E-Liter in my life. But for anyone that plays E-Liter, I mean, anyone that played like Weightbreaker in general is pretty good. So like understanding like, I know Pika Dave made a really good video. It didn't go through everything, but this is some nice tech. If I ever played a Weightbreaker weapon, I'd steal this. But I'm a crab gamer for life until something else is better. Yeah, unless you know the timings. I feel ya. Heavy, yeah, heavy is so sick. Sun also plays a lot of heavy, but you do get some value with it on like the enemy spine, like this area. But obviously that's not super important. But I'm gonna pick at you a lot about this stuff just so I can better understand, because I think you have a lot of leader and wave break and special tech that I don't play these weapons, so I have no idea. So this is a random question, because like in this scenario, I don't mind you going for a shot, but like in a situation like this, like trading here, because like there's a chance you can potentially get like a trade, which like you're going for the Luna and stuff, but is it better like in terms of timings? Because I know you're like super keen on timings against other E-Liters. Would it be better for you to jump out in this type of situation so that you're situated on your plat before the leader gets into position? You know? Because like their leader is going to want to get in this spot and you're going to have to play from here. Would it be like, is risking going for this pick, is it worth not getting into this position faster? Backing up fully? Okay, that's fair. Because this just like, even if you get this trade, like let's say, I don't know. Like if you got the trade anyways and still went down, I feel like this is probably net negative. Ego solo peak. Okay. I'm just making sure. Because I feel like losing out on this timing is pretty tough. Yeah, water moves when paused. This happens on like, I mean, it happens on all the maps, but also anything like there's certain maps with like not as cool pulls as the Wahoo World pull, but ones that have like the wavy flags and stuff, those things will wave in the air as well. I don't know if there's any other objects that wave in the air, but yeah. The jellyfish move? This is the important questions that we're asking here in this review. Do the jellyfish move? I don't know if there's jellyfish on this map, so don't ask me. They never stop dancing. Oh yeah, this is really random, but since we've kind of gone off the rails a little bit, in one of the interviews, like that translated interview with the Splatoon developers, they said on Mincemeat that Krusty Sean's cart from like Splatoon 2, I'm guessing it's like mashed up or whatever, because that's like how Mincemeat is. It's like a bunch of compacted cars and stuff. Was that ever found? Because they said it's on the map somewhere. I don't know if it was like common knowledge that like people figured out like day one when looking at the map, but I don't know if it's a... Oh, it's in the parking lot. Oh, okay. Because I remember reading it and I'm like, at some point I'm going to go back and watch it, and I never did. That's a cool little Easter egg. What car? So the little the truck that Krusty Sean is in Splatoon 2. I don't know if there was a video of the interview. I think it was text translated by I always mispronounce her name, but like Riz Siska's. I'm sure if someone had a Twitter link to the actual translated interview, feel free to post it, but yeah. Anyways, so we're in a tough spot because leader's in position, and yeah, you're focused on the 1v1 with leader, which this you're in range of this leader right now, right? This feels very scary. You're not? Okay. Thank you, Vic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, this is fine. This is scary, but I guess you know. Does that not hit you? I don't know for scope. It looked like the light looked pretty close. We'd have to check the math, but I think you're splatted in this spot. But it is hard. Like, they'd have to like peek a little bit farther out. I don't know. This is super minor, but like when you're playing E leader versus E leader, like this is like the importance. Yeah, it's definitely close, but they probably have a little bit of an advantage on you. Yeah, you're kind of stalling until people start getting specials. Ouchie the Sharker. Nice. Nice shot. As one thing that you have your timings down. Like I'm safe, but yeah, I think you were splatted if they hit that shot, but I know that you're very specific about your positioning, so but I do think you were potentially in that range there. Waiting for him to move off for a good peek. Yeah, you're kind of stuck in these spots, but you're doing a good job of identifying that you have special already. I haven't really been paying attention, but I don't think you've used any mines this game, which I don't think they're like super useful, but you know, getting them at least, like I would say that they help me, and they're also really annoying when pushing. When people use them on like the spine area, like if there's just a trip mine anywhere on the spine. Mine on this map is troll. Yeah, no, that's fair. Maybe that's part of the reason why people may want to take this type of positioning at the beginning of the match instead of going up here, and so you actually get a mine down. At the end of the review, if I remember, we'll go back to one shot and see if they actually throw that down or not. Yeah, no, it's definitely time consuming, but I could honestly, getting that mine down is potentially enough value to not go top at the beginning. Not all the time. I don't think it's that important, but it would be interesting to see if they actually did that or not. But I agree with you, especially on this map. It's like really awkward. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to. Yeah, I'm not trying to tell you that you should be doing more mines, but it's just something that I noticed. And maybe that's part of the reason why people like playing around spine a little bit more, is that you can actually get some value out of the mines. Good help. I like that. I like that you identified that the Luna was looking at your teammate here on the right side, and you were able to go for your top shots. Yeah, leader down, but I before you could definitely push up to here. I think where you're at now is where you should be. I don't think you can move forward. Even though leader's down, you're probably going to get jumped on if you try to push any more forward. So this is good positioning. Close. Nice. Part of the Vic. Let's go. You had to download the Twitch app? No way. That's some dedication. Downloading the Twitch app for that. Thank you so much. And thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. Y'all are fantastic. Section bombs fun. Yeah, you're having to deal with a lot of stuff dislodging you all throughout the game. I think you're making the best that you can, and like you're finding yourself in opportunities that are like either slightly outside of the range or like just barely missing. So I think you're playing this about as good as you can. Is there ever a time where you'd want to position farther right? Like, is playing around this cover ever good as like a potential off angle? Have you seen clips? I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. I think we're gonna probably leverage the Discord so that we can have like a stockpile of clips or replay codes, I should say. But I haven't figured it out quite yet, so I'm trying to figure it out. Right now we're just doing it through chat, but we have like I think two more codes that are in the queue. So we're probably not going to be able to get to any extra like new codes, but we're going to be doing more reviews like more frequently. So if you are interested, I don't know my exact schedule, but I would say at least like 4 or 5 days a week, and definitely during the weekends. Around this time, I'm getting closer to the end of the stream now, but you know, like at the start of the time 4 hours ago is basically going to be a consistent time that I usually try to stream. So if you're in here and you have replay codes, but I'm gonna have a better system. I just haven't quite figured out how yet. Trade's worth even though your teammates are griefing. Man, it's time to farm special. No, I think the trade's fine. It's just funny that y'all both went for the same drum shot. I could, but what am I hitting? Yeah, that just this goes back to like, I don't know. I'm not sure if there's like a potential off angle. Like if they're looking for you, like if they're already sitting in the spot, I don't know if potentially like peeking from here gives you a better vantage point on this. Or for people, because I know a lot of times I like to push around on the attacking team, and I'll take this left side because I know that their charger is going to be here or their charger is going to be here. But I never see chargers up here, so I'm assuming it's just bad. But yeah. Machine Blaster GG. No, you're fine. Like this is something where you peek and then you'd probably have to reposition if you don't hit your shot. But as a scope, you want to be pretty stationary because it's really hard to move. So yeah, I don't think this is a good play. Again, I'm using this as an opportunity to pick your brain since we're solely focused on charger and leader, and I'm trying to learn more, and maybe other people that play backline may want to think about these things. There's no cover. I mean, there's a little bit of a ramp, but yeah, the cover isn't great. I don't think you're compromising a lot of safety and a lot of good positioning for it, but I didn't know if there was ever like a risk that you can take although I guess you can basically hit everything. The only thing that maybe you'd be able to like hit is like this area here that you can't really see from the right side. Maybe you get a better vantage, and maybe you probably could potentially get a peek on this person, but because you spawn on the left side of this map, like going all the way to the right side is like never worth. I just wanted to talk through it. Yeah, one and done for sure. I'm with you. And if you don't hit the shot and if there isn't an opportunity there, then like it's rough. Because you waste a lot of time. Nice shot. So one thing I would say in this spot, I probably should have let it play a little bit. Yeah, no problem. Oh, I should have gone back a little bit more. But I do think this is probably a spot where you could potentially look to throw mines. And if you do go top left, I do think getting a mine right here is really good. You could get it up there as well. But in this type of spot where there's a good chance, like double short range, like I'm probably trying to push the leader in most spots. I think this isn't a bad time to look for a preemptive, to just get a mine somewhere. Obviously you're kind of stuck here, but even now I'd probably get a mine instead of tap shooting. But I don't know, like there's a lot of stuff happening, so I can't blame you, and staying alive here is impressive, so you're good. Yeah, this is how I expected the game to go for like the entire game. I'm surprised that this wasn't happening as often as it was. Dang. That was a good angle, good timing, good opportunity, but unfortunate. This is painful. Nice. Good drop timing. Close call. I don't know if this is like, is hard. It's hard to explain. I don't know. You know this person has a shot ready to go. And I could be wrong. I feel like you trading in the spot is a mistake. I feel like going for this is a mistake, if I'm being completely honest. I think trading puts your team at like, in solo queue, you don't want to trust your, like, I know especially you don't want to trust your teammates. So I think, I don't know. This feels like an opportunity that, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the whiff was a little bit tough before, but it was a good like opportunity. I don't really think about using mines. That's fair. If I peek better, I don't die. You don't. So again, you're more familiar with the peek game. So if you said that if I peek better, I don't die. I don't know how that's possible, but I don't play E-Leader. But I would not go for this shot at all. Because like stuff's happening here. I'm not kidding. I would just bait my teammate. Like obviously they can still take cover behind. Although if they're aiming like this, like if they're sitting anywhere behind here, you can still hit the top of their head, right? But I would much rather them take a shot literally anywhere and then you immediately like punish. You can if you get precise. I would feel more comfortable than going for this type of peak, like because this is like inevitable, and especially with like online and latency and everything, there's a very good chance that y'all are gonna trade here. I don't like the trade simply because I know that you're the better player and you have better positioning and you need to like hold. So like this feels very I don't know. I wouldn't be as comfortable with this trade here. But that's just me personally. I would, because, and this is like, I don't know how comfortable you are with that peak shot. Because like if you do bait your teammate and you can't trade the lead, like if you can trade the leader for it, I think it's massive. But if you can't trade the leader, then it might be kind of throw. But in this type of position, and I don't know how the angles are for everything. But if I was you, like this is good. I think in this type of spot, once this thing explodes, I'm probably left peeking this. I guess it just depends. I don't know. Like you can sit and wait for them to take the shot. I think that's fine. But I'm also okay looking for a potential play and then staying there for a little bit, but I could be wrong. I don't want to compromise me getting like, I would rather take my chances with like these people dropping that are going to have a, you know, they're eventually going to dislodge me when they have specials and everything. And I don't know. I would probably prioritize that a little bit, but again, there's other circumstances where I think this is totally fine, but when you need like a good push, I don't like the potential of trading here, but I could be wrong. Splashes on respawn. Yeah. I trust me. I was not thinking about these things when I'm talking about it either, but yeah, go for the leader last. Yeah, I think it's an option. I don't know if it's optimal, but I think acknowledging that trading here is really, really sketch. It's very risky. If you trust your teammates and your team has an advantage, then you're chilling, but I don't like putting the game into my teammates' hands like that. Trying to get better so you don't get crushed by Sky Trainer in the deck next time you play. Let's go, let's go. Never look before super jumping. It ends up with a lot of free kills on the other team. Yeah. So one thing that can help with that is that because a lot of times people, once they get splatted, they kind of waste the time between when they get splatted and when they actually respawn. And it's a really good habit to, once you get splatted in any circumstance, always open your minimap and start processing that information. Because once you're able to super jump, being able to process that information that fast is kind of tough. As you get better, your awareness will get better and your intuition on when it's okay to jump and not jump. All those will get a little bit better, but give yourself more time and immediately pop open your map every time that you get spotted and start thinking about it. Try to figure out the momentum. You know, is enemy team pushing into your team? Are things kind of in a standstill? You know, are there good opportunities for you to be able to, you know, is there a team that you can find that you can jump to properly? Are you able to, you know, depending on your gear, because if you have stealth jump, you can be a little bit more free with your jumps. But if you don't have stealth jump, you know, is there a teammate that's like sitting behind a cover for you to more safely jump to? There's a lot of things you have to evaluate, and there's definitely an art to the super jump. But yeah, I think the best thing to start out with, if you're not already doing it, is always keep your mini map open and start game planning how you want to play after like you respawn. Some of that, like part of that decision making is if you should super jump, and if so, where. But some of the other parts of it includes like, you know, where, because like as a splash player, crab is really important if you need to retake and your team goes down. So when I die and I pop open the minimap, I'm thinking about, you know, where did I get, you know, where can I paint for special? Where should I position to get a good crab? And I'm thinking about all of this before I've even respawned. Art of the super jump. Maybe one day. I like the idea of Splatoon pros, like with other people in other careers, like everyone just makes a book after they retire. I like the idea that Splatoon pros are going to retire and then make a book. Is Ninja Squid worth? It's good, but Splash Build's very flexible. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of go for it, but if you're going to be more aggressive, I definitely think Ninja Squid is good. Because a lot of times people will run like Ninja Squid plus run speed, or not run speed, sorry. Well, some do, but Ninja Squid plus swim speed. I've seen more people not use Ninja Squid recently, but it's still something that you need to be like mindful of. At this point, I think it's kind of matchup dependent and like your role on the team dependent, but I think on average it's pretty good. I don't like the playstyle, but if you're more comfortable with taking those short range fights and you're looking to be more aggressive, I think it's probably, in most cases, it's worth running. But you can still be aggressive and not run Ninja Squid. But just on average, like there's so much passive value to Ninja Squid. Anyways, we're getting back to this game. Ooh. Wait a minute. Oh no. The collats were kind of sick at the end there. In GL. Single splash, never, but double splash. I think if you're running a... I don't know. If I was the only splash, I'm with you. I would never, but I don't know. I think some people may potentially choose for it. That was a good game. And you mentioned Luna and Zipcaster. I don't think I saw a single one. Real quick before we go over a couple of things, I just want to see if Michelin Heroes one shot ends up getting a mine down before in their position. I'm just interested. Okay, it looks like not. Also, the angle's not too bad. Is this spot protects you from the charger, but you have to trust that your teammates are moving forward, because if you get ran that, it's pretty scary. Yeah, your teammates. To be fair, I don't necessarily blame people. This is a pretty unconventional opening, but I would still be expecting it. That was interesting. Yo, have a good night. Take care. Appreciate you coming through from the big Vic raid. Much appreciated. Cook some dinner. Hopefully you have some good food. Learned a lot. That's good to hear. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Anyways, that's all I wanted to see. I've seen enough. Oh, you wanted splash builds? Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of traditional builds. Next time we get together, I'll run you through the gambit. But in terms of the what am I trying to say? In terms of the subs and stuff, there's a lot of flexibility. Real quick, let me. Oh yeah. So a couple of things. This is tough. Your gameplay is really good, and I feel like I learned more about E-liter than trying to teach you some things. But the first thing I would say, because I think normally you do this really well, but I guess it's just like more macro and just, you know, if I trade, trade dot, if I die, dot, if I splat. So if you get a clean pick and you still stay alive, dot. And kind of make sure you're evaluating when it's important to like go for stuff. I think because this is solo queue and I know you as a person, I think some of these were ego peaks. And I think you would have a little bit more restraint, especially for the there was you and your teammate, and then there was the Luna, and you went for this, or I think you're a little bit farther back, but you went for this peak here, and like even if you get that peak, you mentioned that you wouldn't go for that in a normal game. It was just a solo queue moment, which fair, very valid. But I do think there's like certain situations. I don't think there were a ton, but I think in the spots where you're sitting here, like this type of 1v1, just be mindful. And I think when your team has control in these spots, I would be less inclined to take it. But there's also times where you went for this fight and you like popped off. But I think in that last circumstance where you needed a good push and there wasn't a lot of time left, I'm not sure if we're getting this kind of like, I'm not sure if we're getting this kind of control for the rest of the match. So, you know, avoiding this altogether is not too bad. I think earlier in the game when you like won these, I think it's fine because, you know, that trade is potentially good, and, you know, getting it cleanly can give you a really big lead. Pillar Peak has an advantage. Okay, gotcha. And yeah, that's the other thing. Like I don't think this is necessarily a mistake, but it felt like a lot of times you just defaulted to going for peaks, which when you default to it, it's probably because you have an advantage. But I don't know. I think there's certain spots where maybe you could be a little bit more careful. And outside of that, I think being more aware of when to use mines, like just, I don't think you have to be too creative, but just protect my flank. Because there's a lot of really good mines, and I can kind of go through it with you sometimes, but like there's certain mines, even if I'm not like, that are just really frustrating as someone that's trying to push the enemy team. And like a mine in this spot is really annoying. Like if I'm trying to flank this way, I get really frustrated. This mine as well is frustrating as well when I'm trying to cross this way, but this one is more prone to get popped, and getting a position for it is probably a little bit harder. But I think when you're going up here, I wouldn't do it at the beginning of the match, because like the amount of slowdown that you get from placing a mine as you're moving at the beginning, like that time, the little bit of time that you waste throwing this mine down is probably not worth the time you lose to get into position. But I do think there's certain situations, especially because there was a spot that you were up here and it was a 2v2. It was like you and Slosh versus like two Neo Splashes. And in those positions, like if I'm thinking as a Neo Splash, I'm always going for this flank. Because if we get the leader differential, like we are super chilling. So like there's certain spots where you can kind of like at least for me, and I'm sure like you've played a lot of competitive games, but like there's a certain like intuition of like momentum is going to be shifting. Like the enemy team has the momentum if they decide to take it. And if you're going to hold your position when you know the enemy is going to be inclined to want to move forward, that's where I would probably take a little bit of time to throw down a mine. Because when you're going for these like tap shots and everything, like your tap shots are actually pretty clean, obviously, but I think the mine helps you a ton. Like if if I run into a mine right here that I'm chasing the leader for, and then I start getting tap shot, I just like lose. I just lose, and it feels bad. They could also go for this direct. I love this pillar and jumping off of it to hit the leader, but yeah, I'd also use it like when when you have an advantage and like your timing window is like really large, so you're kind of just like waiting. And there's certain spots where your team wiped and you're already into position super fast, where you're kind of going to be waiting. So I'd rather you just like get into the habit of just getting a mine down, just because you have time and there's no reason not to. Do you think mine's more helpful on flank or on zone? It depends. It really depends. I think on this map, I would definitely prefer it on flank. I think it depends on like the likelihood that it's going to get like if a mine is not going to have a huge impact, I don't think it's necessarily like worth. So like it's always safer to use the ones for your flank. But I know a lot of times like when we've played in like scrims or tournaments or whatever, we'll play like Hagglefish and like we'll be way past the zones on Hagglefish and you'll get like a mine like on their side of the zone. I think those mines in the zone are good. I think if our team is like moved forward and moved past, I think having mines in the zone is good. But like on this map specifically, I wouldn't worry about it. From map to map, I don't know specifically what would be best. But I do like I don't know. I like it for flanks on this map, at least for solo queue. Because people are gonna get around. Also, what's up, Roomba? People get around a lot. And even though this isn't considered a flank necessarily, like catching someone that's moving in the spot and like the damage and the vision when they've committed this far forward is like really powerful. But in certain competitive environments, I could understand where putting them on flanks isn't as important. Why do I see leader bucket 2 Neo? You just gotta respect the solo queue. Thank you for the hydrate. But that's really the only things. Like obviously your positioning and your peaking and everything. Like I'm never gonna teach you anything about that, but I was able to learn a lot, so that was cool. Yeah, basically it. I don't know. That was a cool game. I'm surprised you didn't get as. There's like 2 moments in the game where you got thrown like a million tri-strikes at you. I'm surprised it didn't happen. This water bottle is massive. I had it because I refill water a lot when I'm like gaming or sitting for long times. And sometimes it's better just to have like a giant water bottle. It's just easier for me to get the link. I bought it a long time ago. I'm not actually, I had to find it. It's in my Amazon purchases somewhere. But yeah. Also, there was a follow that I did not thank. Teko Taku, like the name. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. But thank you so much for the follow. Much appreciated. Sorry for the delay. I was gonna forget my thought otherwise. I'll go to Costco right now. But yeah, I think that's about it. I don't know if there's anything else specifically that you were like looking to go over with that replay. Obviously the technical prowess. If my position can be changed. No, I think your positioning in general is pretty good. I think in terms of openings, like you could potentially look to do different stuff, but I don't know. From their POV, I don't know. I think all of your positions were probably fine. The only thing I would say is like when, and I think it sounded like you got confused with the tri-strikes, but at the very beginning when you were sitting on glass when tri-strikes are going on, I would never do that. But I think you were assuming those were your tri-strikes. No, I think you were generally fine. Like, I don't know about tri-strikes. I think your positioning's fine because like, if you're playing against a leader, like you kind of know where they're gonna sit. There's like usually there's like 2 spots, maybe 3 spots that people can sit with leader, and it's just being as much of a threat as you can. Like it's okay to be like noisy, and it's okay to be, you know, it's okay to give the information in certain spots. I would say maybe be a little bit more careful in those spots where like the momentum is like shifting toward you. But yeah, that would be the only thing that I would say. Because like in general, I know where leaders are, and I just have to like respect it basically. I think it's in situations where they have certain specials. Like if you're playing against a crab, tri-strike, definitely inkjet and everything. Like if you know that they're gonna use that special soon, try not to put yourself into a scenario where you're gonna like trap yourself basically. And if the enemy team can throw a bunch of like bombs at you to punish you for staying in a certain spot, try not to do that. Yeah, just don't miss is the best advice I can give you. Now there are certain maps where like you need to be careful with your positioning. It's like super refined, but there's certain areas like where I use crab. There's certain like trajectories when I'm using my expo shots where like where you position in relation to where the expo shot's going actually does matter, but it's so hard. How do you deal with enemy E-leader on Eeltail? I have no, I think it's just like isn't it just like that peak battle? I don't really know. I think it is getting value from the rest of your team. Like outside of just taking the 1v1 and all of your leader expertise. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily push. Like there is definitely a degree of like you kind of have to wait for your team. And once you have an advantage, you go. That's kind of what I was talking about for the first part with what's it called? Oh yeah. I missed X-Ray's review last time, and I'm gonna do that. And this will probably be the last code for the night, because I gotta go sleepy at some point. But yeah, I'm gonna have a more organized way of going through this. I don't know if I'm gonna do a forum or if it just, I might be more casual on the Discord server until we figure it out. But I have like I have another document that I'm using in order to track a lot of this, and I'm gonna make sure that everyone at least gets like, anyone that wants like a review is able to get the review before we start going like super far into the duplicates. Oh, thank you. Stay fresh as well. Have a good night, and thank you for the vibes. I always appreciate the good vibes, and all of the everyone that came from Vic has brought the goodest of vibes. Machine on this map kind of goes hard. TC on this map is a little scuffed. I mean, I think your comp actually is kind of nice. I think I like your comp a little bit more, but this is a little interesting. Also for your gear, swim swim and the ink saver and jump. Have you played with run speed? I feel like all the pros like prefer having run speed in a lot of scenarios, but I don't exactly know why. Or I know why, like the extra movement and stuff, but using run speed versus swim speed has always like been weird. I usually favor the swim speed over run speed, but I'm not sure. Never liked it even when you made it. Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of get the same feeling, but I know that there's probably specific things that they're looking for. And when you're taking a lot of like very specific fights, oh, when you made it in 2, gotcha. I don't know. I do, I can understand the validity, but it's never really felt worth, if that makes sense. But I don't know if it's necessarily true. I'd have to play it more, but I haven't played it in a while. So anyways, your comp is really good on ledges. So I was kind of talking about it before, but like I think your team can snowball pretty hard, especially in TC when you're gonna get passive charge on your pushes. Your Hydra is gonna have Booyah Bomb more often. So yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest thing is avoiding. So one thing I will say is like your team's gonna struggle a little bit with paint to keep the carbon in check, but this is mincemeat, so it's not as bad. But you do have the ability to like, if they were gonna drop off ledges, your team can handle ledges a little bit better. But when they're like kind of looking for little lanes in mid to kind of push through, you might struggle a little bit. But your team has a lot of chip, your team has a lot of pushing power, and like once you have control, you're chilling. And you have double Booyah Bomb. Your comp's okay. The biggest thing is not to get snowballed on by the carbon. And for you specifically, just being careful about your ranges against the blaster. Because they have so much chip and they have so many like walls of like paint that basically, I don't know, like you don't want to get yourself into like a checkmate position. Like how I was talking with Sun with like the tri-strikes and not putting yourself in a spot where you can just, you get punished for like you avoid the whatever it is you're trying to initially dodge, but you're stuck with your movement, so you're unable to do anything about it. But both these comps are pretty weird. But I think on average I like your comp a lot better. Being here to start. Who else will do it? Yeah, exactly. No grades to truck. Yo, take care, son. Appreciate the review and I appreciate the leader tips. Yeah, Fizzy's over the truck is super solid. You probably can be a little bit more active at this point. I think when you're getting, not that like you should be taking fights or anything, but, and I'm definitely assuming this is solo queue, but one thing that I kind of try to avoid is like when we're in these spots, I'm assuming at this point my teammates are gonna start looking for fights and they're gonna try their hardest to feed and everything. So when I get, it's like this is fine, but now I want to start probably moving forward at this point. Like backing up and getting this paint, it leaves room for your teammates to feed and you can't do anything about it. This isn't necessarily a problem with you, but in solo queue, sometimes your team's gonna lose the early fight because they're like, oh, like, you know, with this timing, like our team's probably ready to push, and then they're gonna like look to go for some plays. Don't fight, yeah. Ideally, but you know, sometimes it can be hard to communicate. That's unfortunate. Again, this is like solo queue stuff, but if you ping this way after you get that initial hit on the like the direct on I think it was carbon, you actually might have teammates move to you faster. But your likelihood of success will depend, because sometimes people pay no attention and sometimes people don't. Like sometimes people are really good about it and sometimes people aren't. But I would at least get into the habit, at least in solo queue. Because there's many times where my teammates have saved me. Because that person's like cornered in a really bad spot, but Oh. Sad. Yeah, I like that you get back to the sponge because you can use this, like, being out in the open was very risky, but I'm glad that you made it back to the sponge because you can sit behind the sponge and you can also use the sponge to squid roll and give you some armor like when the shot's actually approaching you. Obviously this was the very end of it all, but who is this? This is a X-ray. You wouldn't tell by the weapon. Oh yeah, I could probably put that. I should put that somewhere. Also, what I'm guessing this is just X rank, right? Probably. Yeah, I should um add something to the stream so that we can like get all of that stuff like actually on there. So you can say like player's name and rank and all of that stuff. I'll have to work on that. I'll have to get my graphics people to get that one in the works. I don't have graphics people. Ooh. I am surprised you got 2 picks from that. It was a good fizzy bomb. I'm surprised you got 2. I do like you holding the right side for this check. It's just tough because they can like come in through the left side and you have to make sure people are holding the left. But with you kind of being the last one defending in this spot, I do like that you're holding this right side, but you're positioning in a way to not try to the ledge. Like you get this. So you're throwing this fizzy bomb. It's just like a minor thing. I'm just, you did this so you know, but I'm just trying to provide some context. The fact that you're sitting on top of here while throwing this gives you a vantage point of all of this. You can't see people coming through mid potentially, but you can see anyone around this corner, and like as we can see with this trail, we're able to see anyone that may be pushing and flanking off of that paint. So it's a small thing, but if X-Ray throws this and doesn't have a camera perspective on these 2 angles, this area is very dangerous, and especially against their weapons. Honestly, all these weapons do a pretty good job around the ledges. So, making sure you have enough either high ground or just a good enough vantage point to where you can notice these things and gather this info while you're still throwing this fizzy bomb. Obviously, the extra height gives you more range, but yeah, this is really important because I like holding this. But if X-Ray was playing it a little bit farther back currently and was more susceptible to people getting underneath this ledge without X-Ray knowing, then this is very dangerous, and a lot of people feed in these types of spots when they're defending on mincemeat in this point because they don't get this vision. So this is something really important to point out, and everything works out really well, but you're able to quickly respond. You're ready to back out, and when this person overextends, you can push on them. But it's really good. I'm blushing. I forgot I have 10 million chunks. Yeah, you get like 9s every rotation, so you're chilling. Eyeballing mid and left drop most of the time. Yeah. Again, in solo queue, especially against their comps, like it's important for someone to watch it. So usually until I can build trust that I know someone's painting and watching for it, yeah, I'll usually do it myself. So big agree. Plus the weapon that you're playing can like actually like handle that. I like that you didn't drop here. I didn't want you to get on the tower either, so I was a little concerned when you initially started pushing toward tower, but I like the way that you played it, and you stayed like very you kept yourself options, because even if you drop down here and get this pick, you're pretty likely to get traded in a lot of spots because there's probably people over here based off of all the stuff that's getting thrown our way. So I like that you stayed up top of here when getting these picks. I don't know if we necessarily need the Booyah Bomb, but if we want to clear this out and be able to push it, I think that's probably fine. Alright, well, that's good. I'm surprised they played it as aggressive as they did. Reaction to the burst. I see. I wouldn't expect them to actually push you there, but I guess it was good for them for the trade, and obviously good for you for the 2. That's tough. This is but in this spot, especially since like your teammates are already on tower and stuff, it's really good that you're like already rotating, like pre-rotating. Against their comp, cause yeah, we saw this person drop. Is kind of minor, but I think you actually play around this ledge in this type of spot. Because I think we know that the carbon isn't here. I guess we don't know for sure. I guess technically carbon could still be up here, but if we're gonna take this fight, we're always potentially risking the carbon. Yo, what's up, JP Ambers? Welcome in, welcome in. Because I would much rather you sit on this ledge right here. Because if we know carbon isn't there, you can use this ledge as a shield against everything else on there. Like, range blaster's still an issue, but if they get that initial shot, you can like go back. I feel like it's less of a commitment to play this ledge and potentially a little bit sneakier, but I think they know you're coming. But you can avoid the ink mist altogether by like being more aggressive. Because I think with their comp, like they kind of outrange you and they kind of out poke you. So trying to be more aggressive and being able to like jump from the sledge if you want to be more aggressive is the right option. And again, if they have a blaster or if they have a the tri-stringer that are like trying to go for chip in this type of area, I think it's easier and you're more likely to be able to escape by moving under the ledge this way than being out in the open and having to reposition backwards, because they kind of outrange you like regardless. So it's minor. Like you're in a position here where like 9 times out of 10 you take this fight and you win it. It's unfortunate this was the 1 out of 10 times. That's super tough. But I think overall I do like this positioning a little bit better. Like kind of the more I think about it. I'm actually interested on how you play this out because I don't see you. You blob off me. Yeah. But like I can understand you being concerned about because if one of these were carbon, which I think we know they're not the carbon here, but carbon still could be sitting on their like snipe area, like all the way back there. And if you're scared about them jumping on you, like you shouldn't take that fight at all. And I would probably, so if you were scared, I guess we can just go back to the time real quick. No, I haven't went back not far enough. My bad. Yeah, the ball play was sad. Like you ended up taking a good fight, but I do think you can play a little bit better. So anyways, so yeah, if you're scared, which it is a legitimate threat, because like as you drop, you do see that there's a carbon up here with the blaster. But if you're taking these types, like if you're taking any sort of fight in this area, this carbon is gonna pop off on you regardless. So yeah, if you were scared, being farther out is better. But if you were scared about them being in the spot, I would be taking shots on this anyways. I think you kind of made the assumption that because your team is doing a bunch of stuff on tower, you can start rotating early, which I like the play. I think this is a gamble that is good, and you're probably going to catch these people off guard and get them most of the time. And you got yourself in a winning position, which was good. Execution was a little rough, but yeah, that's the only thing I would mention is like play the sledge. If they chip you and you feel like it's not winnable, then you just come back and you can still potentially look for picks along the sledge. But the play overall is pretty good. After the death though, I'm interested in how you play the defense here. Because I would play it a specific way and I'm interested in how you end up playing it. Seems like that drop was on accident. Oh my goodness. It's a good pick. So yeah, in this spot, I would definitely try to get oops. I went back too far again. Let's let it play through. This is the spot though. In this kind of scenario, I would actually probably paint base. Like I would want to get special so that I have Booyah Bomb for this first checkpoint. I think that's actually probably worth. And because we have a bunch of base paint and like, again, we go back to our comp, we don't have like a crab. We don't have, you know, if we had a splash or like a reflux or something that like would want this more, I'm okay with being a little bit more aggressive, but especially in solo queue, like holding down the first check, it isn't the most important thing, but I think if you can hold it, it's very, very good. But I know you're playing it safe in this spot, but running down without getting the special, like getting the special is kind of hard because they do like start taking these, like they're really smart about taking these left flanks on their team and just like getting chipped from multiple directions, which I think is something scary about this. And that's why I don't want you to get to this plot before having special as an option. Because if you have to keep painting while sitting, if you have to keep painting for special while like sitting in this area, you're just very in a tough spot. And the same thing goes for the rest of your team because they're probably not going to be going for stuff either. So I don't know if you're potentially going to go for like these aggressive plays, which I don't think is ever worth because you're the first one coming through. But yeah, I would have liked base paint a little bit more than this. Contesting space or building. Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's map dependent. I think there's a lot of maps where you can like taking space is actually like better, but I don't know. For Mincemeat specifically, and especially in solo queue, and especially since their first check is still up, and the tower, like the tower was slowly moving back, but they hadn't gotten on tower by the time you respawn. So I think the timing for them to get the first check, having a wide open base for you to paint, I'm pretty confident that 99 out of 100 times you're having a Booyah Bomb ready for while they're trying to take the checkpoint. But with two teammates down, this is pretty desperate, so I'm glad I'm glad that you went for a pick on the offskirts just to kind of slow their momentum, because at this point you can't really do much about the first check because we didn't have that Booyah Bomb. Yeah, and now we're running to the issues where yeah, our team really struggles to paint, so you don't have a lot of clear avenues to be able to move forward safely. It's like everything you do in these spots is like an inherent risk, but I think you navigate it really well. Yeah, I think the fights are going for like really, really good. Almost crying in the club. Now we're crying in the club. This is really minor, but did you know that it was a blaster before you dropped? There's like a small right here. Because I don't like dropping until I see this, and then I'm like, once I see that it's a blaster, now I like my chances of moving forward on them. So I'm not sure if that's something that you were like cognizant of, but if you were thinking about it, I like the decision. Because if this was different weapons, I don't like this as much. Like fighting a blob in this kind of spot is a little weird. Not that it's like, I don't know what's advantageous or not for blob. Blob is a mystery for me, but I don't necessarily like running into their shots, but because it's a blaster, this is a good play. And like the stop that you did there made me think that, oh, you acknowledge it's a blaster, time for me to go in, and you're able to process that really fast. But I wasn't sure if you were paying attention or not. This is sad. But we do get the trade. I know I take this with the knowledge of it being rapid. Gotcha. Figure 8 aim. This is why we're a Tetra player. We're trying to play into our roles, but unfortunately we don't have truly an unfortunate way to go down. Oh man, that's hilarious. Alright, my bad. I guess we can move forward a little bit more. Replay bugs are honestly the best. I was gonna do it again. I have to look at it, but I'm interested in your thought process of jumping here. What did you see? I'm actually interested, partially because I need to get better at jumping, but what did you see here that made you think you were down to jump? But you do have what I consider the moon shoes, but stealth jump. I wish, that's why I sent this, yeah. This, and again, this is my comfort with like, this is just timing windows for me on tower control. Again, we have plenty of room and plenty of options that we should be identifying after we get splatted and we're checking the map. We understand how much special we're going, like we're coming out of spawn with, so you know, basically half. And then, or a little bit more than half. So like the decisions that I'm making, if there is a jump because we have an advantage, I'm ready to go for it. I don't like this jump at all, but the only thing I could say, which is really trusting your teammates, which they haven't warranted getting this trust yet, is the fact that you could jump to a Hydra that's gonna Booyah Bomb, or you're gonna jump to an Inkjet that's going to Inkjet. I guess Zipcaster is kind of the same thing because you're jumping to their recall and they're gonna start moving forward. But I don't know, like I wouldn't actually jump unless I saw any of these actually get used. Because I know from my perspective, with how this positioning is, I can comfortably get special, get into position on this right side, have my own Booyah Bomb up, and actually like, you know, not that these leads are fantastic, but with it being 2 minutes left, holding this kind of lead is kind of important. And you can hold the lead pretty consistent based off of where the tower is, based off of, you know, where they need to get the tower, the fact that 3 of your teammates are still up, and the fact that you're close to Booyah Bomb. Like the timings just make sense based off the paint available and how small this map is and so on and so forth. Yeah, we're 3 specials. I can totally understand that. This is where I usually am I like trusting my teammates whenever I can. I don't trust teammates until I see something used. Because I'm assuming they're all going to kind of retreat in this spot, but I don't know. The more I look at this, the less I hate it. But I don't necessarily love this. Because I think the other thing is like the opportunity cost. If I get a jump in safely, is there an overwhelming advantage that we will, you know, that we get? And we already have lead, granted it isn't that great, but if they end up pushing and we stop them with Booyah Bomb, there's a good chance we're going to get some splats and we're probably going to be able to swing the momentum and still be in a good opportunity. But I don't know. I don't hate it. But I don't hate it specifically because I'm expecting, like, if I'm jumping in, it's because a teammate is using a special. But I feel like in these spots, I feel like none of your teammates are in a position where they're comfortable using their special. Yo, my guy, RDB. Hello. This blob is cheating. That's how it feels. Blob online is like, you never know what to expect. But that's just my logic. Someone else could say that, you know, like, the jump makes sense. I just would choose not to do it. But your teammate was able to use Booyah Bomb to slow down the push, and you're choosing not to stop the tower, and you're conceding the fact that they're going to get lead, which I think is the right play in this spot because you'll kind of use your specials and you're still kind of scrambling, and this push isn't that much. Even if they get it to like, you know, here or something, as long as you control it, and getting these picks is like making sure that they don't, you know, break open this game. I think this is pretty responsible of you, and a lot of people would be tempted to just go for the tower. But I like this play a lot more because we don't have Booyah Bomb ready. If I stayed Rapids, the only thing that clears me on the truck, unless they one-tap a weapon. Yeah, I think that's fine. But the problem for me is that because you're dead and it's a 3v4, and like your teammates didn't immediately use those specials, I'm expecting that they're either running out or sitting behind cover or jumping or doing something else other than like assisting you. But I think the play is like fine. I definitely don't hate it. I don't necessarily see it as a mistake, but I don't feel comfortable doing it because I'm a lot more comfortable with my Booyah. You know this blob? Hog? Nice shots. Good spacing, nice shots. Especially since it was like, you should do this, like the shots that you take on the tower, you space them for the carbon, and like you should always do that. So that was really, really good. Yeah, y'all taking control, like this is good. I'd probably be looking for the recall, which I guess your teammates found. It's tough. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Let's see it to completion. That's so unfortunate. These almost cleanups are so unfortunate. One thing I would say though, I think you're Booyah bombing a little bit too early here. And the reason why I think this is early, is because the tower isn't in position quite yet. Because they're 2 down at this point, and if you had a pick readily available, I would say go for it. Like if someone was like stuck here or something, which you probably could just run at them, but like if they were stuck on the left side, like that earlier Booyah bomb you did, like pushing them off of left truck, I think is reasonable and fine. And if you suspected they were still there, then I think going for that play here would make sense. But the reason why I don't like it here is because of where the tower is currently. Like unless your goal is to sit here and hold Booyah Bomb and like wait for the timer to go down and use it at the last possible second, or at least wait until your team's in position with the tower to like, because this Booyah Bomb should get you lead, ideally. But we're not using it to get lead. Like if we used it here and we waited until it went all the way down and then we just like let it auto throw at the end, then I'm more okay with this. But we have an advantage. Tower still needs some time to move forward. Instead of using the Booyah Bomb, even if you did hold it, instead of holding it at that point, you could be throwing fizzy bombs up here. You could be painting. I don't necessarily love dropping because dropping at this point is a little bit risky. You could go for it, but because I really want to use my Booyah Bomb, I'd probably stay not dropping, but I'd probably spam Booyah Bombs, or sorry, spam fizzy bombs until tower is like at least like rounding the corner, because like you'll already have the checkpoint, so it doesn't have to go much farther at this point, you know. So like once it gets here, that's probably when you want a Booyah Bomb, because you want, like, I like timing the Booyah Bomb to when they're gonna want to spam a bunch of stuff on tower when it's most likely for them to be able to stop it without like, you know, a Booyah Bomb themselves or like some other special. And when like tower is most vulnerable from like right here to about here, probably is like where it's most vulnerable. Also, if they're sitting here, like it's vulnerable here, but if they're camping here, you have tools to be able to deal with it. Better get sound alerts working next stream. I hope so. I'll try, brother. There's other technology out there that people use for sound alerts, so I think I might be able to steal some stuff. So when the tower is in this position, this is where I'm looking to use Booyah Bomb during this window. And you can probably throw Booyah Bomb in this area because you know that they're going to sit there to try to, you know, desperation stop this. So that's my rationale. Again, I like this paint because it gives you an avenue to be able to move closer toward them. Yeah, and you end up going for it as tough, as extra tough, and yeah, it's unfortunate. You may actually, like, in this spot, you may actually be able to, like, continuation move. Because of the weapons that are here, I don't know if you knew that there was a blaster at that point, but I think you could probably keep swinging in a lot of spots. It's like, this is good, this is great, this is awesome. I guess with your momentum, you don't really have a way to jump over. Yeah, you end up landing on enemy paint. This is like super, 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 super minor. But if you ended up here instead of right here, you can substrafe this way. Even if you're substrafing an enemy ink, there's still a bunch of paint over here. So if, like, with this shot, which I wouldn't be paying attention to this unless I was like super dialed in, which in most cases I probably wouldn't. But if you were able to land in your own paint, I would probably look to aggress toward them a little bit more. And like, if you want to go this way, that's fine. If you want to swing out far wide, that's fine. It might be better to go a little bit closer, but yeah, this is super minor. But yeah, the fact that you land in the enemy paint there means that you're unavailable to get a substrafe out of there. You're kind of like stuck, and you have to play it basically how you end up doing it. Yeah. I guess you could do a little jump here, but that jumping right here and still not having pain is like very awkward unless you want to, like, the next shot that you use. It's like whatever that next shot is, if you use that paint to get you to have more momentum when you're in your fight, but it's tough. Shooter paying my fee, basically. A slight panic because you dropped. I think you played this fine. It was tough, but against like these types of weapons, I like to keep moving, which the blaster can still track you and you can still get splatted, but I like it better than just kind of being stationary in an area. But I don't think I wouldn't have been so focused that I land in my enemy paint. I probably land. Jeez, I'm running out of water. 1 second. But in these scenarios, I'm probably playing it the same way that you do. But if you were paying attention to the paint patterns and you're able to take that into account, then you would be chilling. I wasn't looking at the situation when you jumped. I don't know if I would jump in this spot. It's 2v4 now. I think it's fine. Yeah, I think that's just unfortunate. Now you're fine. Because yeah, you already had lead before you jumped in, so you didn't need to jump. But with the way the numbers were and people being on tower, I would jump in the same spot. So I think it's fine. But again, this is the same scenario, because we'll see. I'm actually interested to see if you get. I don't think you're getting Booyah Bomb in time. I think you're stuck on this platform and you have to deal with poke from Blob and poke with blasters until the tower gets in this spot. And then you're kind of forced to swing like wide left because your teammates are constant, like, you kind of have to deal with it. Yeah. You might be able to mechanic your way out of this, but that's... I would consider that a blunder. Oh, no. Okay. You like how you play this? Really? I'm interested in your rationale. Because I do not like this at all. You like the right side drop? If you could elaborate, I'd appreciate it. Actually, I'm not sure. I'd rather just have special They effectively have one more push. Oh wait, which part are you? I'm talking about painting for special in this spot. I would be more comfortable having Booyah Bomb ready because your Hydra's down, so you're basically like you are the special. I think there's an unspoken rule from not rule. There's an unspoken understanding from the rest of your team that you're the GG Booyah from my perspective. But which part do you like dropping? Like you like being here? When I had to drop right briefly? Wait, did I miss something? Oh, like right here? Yeah, no, this is fine. No, I like this. Like, I like that you were trying to play the left side and like they had two people on left to prevent you from dropping left. So because they have two left, you're able to go right and you end up putting them in this really awkward spot. I love this drop. But the reason why you have to drop like this, and this is a very like, I'm super uncomfortable with this entire scenario. And I think you simplify the end game significantly if you paint for your base at the beginning. Like at this point, I'm getting my special before I even think about leaving this like spawn area. From my perspective, I think not doing this is actually a blunder. IMO. The enemy team's far back, so like if you had another GG special that you were like ready to chill with, because I do like you taking space potentially, but the way that this map basically happens, unless your Stamper goes for like a hero play, you're gonna end up on this plat and you're just stuck for the rest of the game. So I don't know. I would I would feel super comfortable because the tower's so far away. And this is their final push, basically. Assuming a lot that you wouldn't get, yeah. It's interesting seeing people's dynamics. Because over the last couple days, I reviewed everyone on the team except for Saf. We need the Saf replay at some point. I reviewed everyone on the team's solo queue games. And it's interesting to see the degree of trust that people have in their teammates. And like you have a ton of trust in teammates, and Sun and Bab despise their teammates. I'm somewhere, but I'm closer to you. But I'm actually surprised that I'm not the one that trust teammates the most in solo queue. This is like a fascinating introspective into your mind. Because like Sun, there's no way that Sun would ever trust teammates. Bab, I'm surprised how much he didn't trust teammates, but I did overall expect him to not trust teammates. But I'm surprised the amount of leverage you're giving them. Nothing but rage in my heart. It's because you're playing. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But no, you've found yourself in this situation multiple times where you're not going to get special at the time where you would like it. And you'd like special about right here when when tower's getting to this spot where they're vulnerable. I guess technically it'd be the start here, and then it moves to the checkpoint, and then it goes down. And like this is the timing where I want Booyah Bomb. And by dropping here at this point, you're not getting this timing, which means you have to slay. Your creativity with just your main weapon is good, but any time where you can avoid doing this by having your special and just play to this very simple win condition that everyone can kind of play around when you pop Booyah Bomb, that's what I would have preferred. But now it's like, at this point, you're almost like I actually think that y'all are like destined to lose this game. Like, I would say 10 out of 10 times y'all lose this game. But this play here, this drop here is actually really, really, really good. I'm totally on board with this. The jump is a lot more disciplined than I would have been. I would have tried to flank from behind and I probably would have died. But this game is way closer than it has any right to be. this boost. Could you imagine if you lost the game right here because you were charging up Booyah when they were on tower? Yeah, you ran out of ink, but you know how sad it would be charging up Booyah and seeing the enemy team take lead? Oh my god, my heart would be heart palpitations for days. But at the end of the day, you come out with it. But yeah. Yeah, I think you're oh, that took so long. I've never had a replay take that long. It's crazy. This has to be an X-ray replay for the game over screen to last that long. All right. So a couple things. Trying to really think. I honestly think the biggest thing is like it's the macro. And for TC, it's the timing when people turn off their brain. And this is both for your team and for the enemy team. And this happens on a lot of different maps, but it's so, this map in particular is very like, this is almost like the closest to like a flowchart. Because like Splatoon should never be played with a flowchart, but when it comes to having like a good special for this map mode specifically, and a lot for this map, but specifically for this map mode, you can almost flowchart your defense. And you have to, but this is like an important advice for TC as a whole. Honestly, for timing windows are something that expands past all of them, but we'll use TC as an, like it's for all modes, but we'll use TC as an example. And this really depends on if this checkpoint is up or not, or yeah. So like we're on defense over here. So if the checkpoint is up, like you have a little bit more of a window, obviously. But, you know, when the checkpoint is down, you should kind of know the speed at which this goes and this stuff travels. And this is the window where people turn off their brain. And I know because I always turn off my brain in this spot. And what I mean by when people turn off their brain is that they're going, this is the scenario where people are going to be looking to tunnel vision onto the objective because it's like so tantalizing. It's so like, it's such a good opportunity because it's like, oh, you know, either it's directly in front of us or we have high ground on it now as it starts traveling like this way. So people are always going to want to like beat for it, both on offense and defense. Like both teams will definitely do it. And so we want to like take advantage of these windows. Obviously as a machine, I'm going to say GG Booyah, but yeah, I think the drop you had here and going for the shots this way was very creative and I really liked it. But yeah, wide angles are so Tetris, yeah. You're playing machine like you don't have a special, which is so Tetris. And when we're playing machine, especially on this type of mode, where it's super flowcharty, and because of how tiny and condensed the map is, you can get Booyah, like you can probably even get Booyah bombs up here and get them onto the tower during this time. But if you can hit these windows with special, where you can have a defense, it prevents your teammates from like, because like in that spot when you dropped out here on the right, even though like you made like a good play, like all three of your teammates went down because they didn't have a special to play around in this spot and they just panicked. So I don't know. That's the biggest thing is like leverage special. because no one ended up taking the base paint, which is kind of to be expected. There's something else I was gonna say with some of these fights where I would have liked to see you like potentially like play these a little bit tighter, but like in terms of like using ledges and stuff. That's kind of the biggest thing. Like I really like that you were like you kept high ground when you needed to, and the times where you decided to start taking fights and moving forward were, I think we're all pretty spot on, but the execution on the actual machine was kind of rough. Didn't get an opportunity to play ledges. Yeah, I think that's fair, but this also goes back to like how this map gets played, and like with the comp that you have, you're not really getting a chance to do that because you're kind of, like you said at the beginning, you're kind of on paint duty, and especially on defense, like you're having to deal, like the enemy team actually did a really good job of like hitting you all from like multiple angles. Because like your Hydra just wants to sit here and they're dunzo. Wake up for work in 6 hours? Oh, at 6. That's even less. That's 4.5 hours. Eesh. Try to wrap it up. But yeah. Like you did a good job of like not getting caught up in getting chipped from the rest of your team. Like you did a good job of like spacing yourself, but I don't know. There's so many spots where I was just like panicked that you didn't have Booyah Bomb when you very easily could have got Booyah. And all of this kind of goes back to like Fizzies, where there's certain spots where you, when you had Booyah Bomb like here and you use it a little bit fast. There was another spot where you used it a little bit early as well. I think there's 2 opportunities, and I think there were spots you could have slowed down a little bit and gone back and used this little like timing that I mentioned, this window, because this window happens on multiple maps at different each TC map has those moments, because everyone does. I'm guilty of this, and I try to use it to my advantage because I know other people are going to be guilty of it as well. So that's kind of it. I mean, like, I think your actual, outside of not getting some spots that you probably should have, which unfortunate aim in those spots, outside of that, I think like the way that I think you played the main weapon of the machine really well, but almost to a detriment, because you shouldn't have to use the machine main weapon that much and have to use it as cleanly as you ended up needing to do so. You know, the way you played around defense when it was in range and safe to stop, like your spacing, everything was super clean. So overall, I would give that review unironically a Tetras out of 10. I think about sums it up. Also, I didn't look at the scores for any of these. Let's go back. It's always fun. So this was Keki's, and yeah, this review, Keki played very passive, and that's the problem. This goes back, I don't know who was here for these reviews, but this stat line shows why stats are generally meaningless, and complaining that a teammate did poorly because their stats were whatever is like, you know, often not useful. But if someone comes out of this game, and Keki was very like, you know, they took my advice, they asked a bunch of questions, you know, their mentality is awesome. So I'm not saying them specifically, but there's a lot of people, because they probably should have lost this game, if I'm going to be honest, and they probably should have lost because of the way Keki was positioning. But there could be people that could lose the game with this kind of stat line and then like blame their teammates. But again, Keki didn't do this. Keki's awesome, but it's just it's interesting how stats can be deceptive. Because if I saw the stat line going into the game, like the game is just a completely different story. And this is why you need to be analytical and looking at stats. Like when people focus on stats outside of it being a resource tool, this is like, it's you can cope with your stats super hard and feel like you're not the problem because your stats look super nice. Sully 23. Yeah, Sully popped off this game. This was a really fun game to watch. I don't see a lot of really good Squiffers. I think Sully Squiffer is actually super, super solid. But yeah, they got the E-liter treatment this game. And the blaster treatment. Sun with the stats. It was a good game though. They almost had this. Rafa Y. I'm actually surprised at this being 0 because there was a lot of opportunities. I think Rafa could have gotten Zipcaster, and Zipcaster would have been really good this game. Seeing this as 0 is like surprising, but they ended up winning. Rafa got some good picks, so. But this battle of the leaders was like actually really, really fun to watch. Yo, Fireball the Dragon. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome in. We're kind of just slowly recapping. Like if this was the end of a children's show, we're like going back and we're like discussing what our favorite parts of these reviews were. Because I had a great time. But I'm actually surprised that these stats are as polarizing as they are. Because I think is their name One Shot? I feel like I've never heard anyone refer to them as One Shot, but I don't know. But Michelin Heroes, this E-liter is like one of the best. Almost as good as my boy. But yeah, this is, I'm surprised their stats are the way that they are. That's unfortunate. But I guess Sun got the better end of the 1v1 in a lot of spots. Can you show me a meme team? Me and a different streamer? What? Oh, can I show you? You did missiles at the same time? If you have the clip on Twitter, you can share the Twitter link. And then this final game, very respectable stats. But again, the quality of these Booyah Bombs were, no offense X-Ray, hot garbage. But the strength of the actual play, this is a hard-working 14-6 for real. But yeah, look at those pain numbers. That's tough. Yeah, I guess they don't really have a lot of pain either, but Blob just kind of does stuff. Yeah, this is tough. You should have got a little bit more help than you ended up getting, because this is surprising as well. But with their positioning, I guess it's a little less surprising. Yo, Fireball, thank you for the follow. All right. Replay code. I'll quickly go through it. I'm not gonna review. I'll speed run this replay, and then I'm going to sleep, and we'll find someone to raid. But I do appreciate everyone being around. I appreciate everyone's willingness and interest in looking at reviews and stuff. Hopefully it's something that can continue, because I think it's something that I actually have a lot of fun with. Watch the missiles. All right, I got you. You caught me at the best time imaginable, because normally I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this for anyone else except for Fireball. That may or may not be true. But which streamer? What the quad? Okay, this is crazy. Wait, do all 4 of you use it? Wait, this could be good. 600 tries is actually insane. Derogatory. Was funny. Do you know where it was? Was it beginning, middle, or end of the match? It's a relatively short. Oh, I just realized it's turf war. Oh no. Near the start. Alright, there. Did we get quad missiles? I want to see some quad missiles. Okay. Oh, someone's messing up their missiles. Alright, nice fly. You better pain up, my friend. Oh. Are we getting locked and loaded? Alright. I can appreciate this. I can actually appreciate this. Wait, actually. Wait, who's the person that got picked? Steve. Alright, let's watch it from their POV and then we'll call it. Let's see what happens. Oh my god, look at the little dancing missile indicators. There's so many of them. Poor Steve. Oh no. Steve did not know what was happening to them. Come on. Oh no. That's a reportable offense right there. Oh, look at the overhead. Oh, I canceled out. Sorry. We can come back. We can come back. Yeah, the kill cam's kind of funny. I do need to stall a little bit so I can find someone to raid. Dang, all the Splatoon streamers are like hopping with views right now, but we can still give them some love because they have given me love. All right. I think it was like around here, maybe a little bit farther. All right. In the stream with a bang of mini missiles. Oh my god. That's pretty good. I respect the discipline to get 4 people with missiles. That was impressive. Alright. Let's go raid Amy. If you all don't know Amy, Amy is a wonderful Splatoon gamer. They're very good at Salmon Run. They do solo queue. They do some I know someone, I think yesterday, was mentioning like private battles and stuff. Sometimes Amy will do private battles and play with people. I don't like doing that as much. I don't play with viewers as much. I like talking and I like watching reviews, but if that's something that's more up your speed, definitely give Amy's stream a look. But Amy, super funny, super chill, competitive player, Salmon Run connoisseur, does it all. Yo, Froggy Doggy Animation. Hello, hello, welcome in. You do this again? Yeah, so this is going to be something I'm doing consistently. I mentioned it a couple of times, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to actually organize it so that it's fair. It's easy for me to maintain, which is the biggest thing, because there's been, which I'm super thankful for. There's like a bigger interest in it than I initially anticipated. But I need to figure out a more organized way that's a little bit more fair to everyone. But I do appreciate everyone's patience. I'll try to figure out the best way to do it because I don't know. If a form isn't too much to ask, that's something that I could put, because the only thing that I don't like doing it on Discord is that it requires people to join the Discord, which is a good way to promote the Discord, but I don't know if I want to do that to people. At least with a form, I could just have you all submit it, but that's also kind of a pain, so I don't know. We're figuring it out. I'm open to ideas. But yeah, we'll be doing plenty of reviews and everyone will have an opportunity to you know, share with the class. Hopefully multiple opportunities. I want it to be like a more longer term thing, if the interest is sustained. And, you know, because my goal overall is to have reviews. Like, I want to review the same people that are like really interested in improving 4 or 5 times, you know, and like I want to look at their reviews. I'm documenting the notes that I give. I write it on the screen, but I'm documenting it in a more organized fashion. And I want to continually review the past notes and see if you're able to improve on the things that we kind of go over and see if that actually makes you improve as a player. So that's like my overall goal with everything. Yeah, stream is over, but Amy is a late night gamer and is the coolest and the most fun vibes. So if you're looking for another streamer, I highly, highly recommend Amy. Although you probably know Amy. If you're in here, you probably already know Amy. But yeah, we're going to call it here. Again, thank you so much for everyone, all the support, all of the raids, all of the comments, all of the good vibes. Really, really, really appreciate everything. I will definitely be back multiple times this week. I think tomorrow should be good, but we'll have to see. Wednesday might be a little tough. I might be a little bit shorter, but we'll see how it goes. But anyways, I'm talking and everything happened. So later.